anywhere, delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Samsung TV Plus, channel 1177.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
Jeff Tischlar, author of High Tech versus the Highest Tech, has shared his knowledge of the spectacular things that we see in nature as opposed to what man has created, and how this should inform one's faith. Jeff served on the mission field all over the world and has created this highly illustrated and concisely written technical book. The easy-to-read format is understood from the youngest reader to the most intelligent and mature readers. Google and Amazon book reviews include, "This is the best little book I have ever read. It is amazing how much information is in this book." And a beautifully written and illustrated book. The author has a gift for describing complicated technical details in a very understandable style. This book is available now in paperback on Amazon. Search High Tech versus the Highest Tech by Jeff Tischlar. 100% of proceeds go to missions. That's High Tech vs. the Highest Tech by Jeff Tischlar.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Did Trump blink or did Trudeau and Sheinbaum blink? I'm a bit confused after the Wall Street Journal editorial board's review of the situation. I mean, I'm not that confused because, of course, the Journal has termed the tariffs that Trump imposed over the weekend on our northern and southern neighbors, in addition to China, as the dumbest trade war ever, suggesting there was no reason for it. So I'm not surprised that no credit is being given to the game of brinkmanship that Trump was playing with Mexico and Canada, specifically over the situation at both our northern and southern borders. And before that, a pause was achieved with both countries, Canada and Mexico. Trump was, talking pretty tough on Canada, that we've been treated badly by the Canadians, was his perspective.
Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough to do business with, and we can't let them take advantage of the U.S.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, as well as text line, how you think Trump's use of tariffs is working out thus far.
Oh my God. I mean, who's tired of winning? It's constant. It has not stopped since he took office. And he explained real clearly to people, and people that have not had anybody that they've known who's died from fentanyl, it's not if, it's when it'll happen. Your kid might be taking an Adderall pill or something to, get themselves psyched up for finals or to take a big quiz, and it's laced with fentanyl. And then they're dead. And it's happened time and time again. And Trump reminded people why he was doing this.
Fentanyl has killed this year at least 200,000 people. It's pouring in from China through Mexico and Canada, and they've got to stop it. And if they don't stop it, the tariffs are going to get worse, a lot worse.
And part of the deal with Trudeau is to have a fentanyl czar. at the border and to bring more troops there to stop the flow of fentanyl into the United States of America. So that is, again, putting Americans first, following up on a campaign promise, which he said he would do, and listening to the American people. And that's, I mean, I think it was wonderful what happened yesterday. And it was only, once Mexico fell, I knew it was only a matter of time before Canada.
Well, this is not over. It's a 30-day pause, and the pause was reached with, from Canada, a $1.3 billion border plan, U.S.-Canada Joint Strike Force, $200 million for intel operations, 10,000 personnel for border security, and the fentanyl czar that you mentioned. On the Mexican side, Mexico will immediately reinforce their northern border with 10,000 members of the National Guard to prevent drug trafficking, particularly fentanyl. And basically that's the gist of it with respect to Mexico in terms of then agreeing to work constructively with the United States to prevent the trafficking of weapons to Mexico, and then they'll continue to have this dialogue and ostensibly collaborative relationship in discussion of trade policy twinned with national security policy, the interests of both. Trump warned, though, I mean, this is a 30-day pause in both cases, but
Fentanyl has killed this year at least 200,000 people. It's pouring in from China through Mexico and Canada, and they've got to stop it. And if they don't stop it, the tariffs are going to get worse, a lot worse.
So the stick is still there. Nothing is over. This is a pause, and there's specific performance and specific impact that is being sought, and will make an assessment. I mean, the Trump administration, will make an assessment within or over the next 30 days on that score. He also, on the talk of tariffs, folded in the EU in his conversations with the D.C. press corps yesterday, asked about tariffs extending to the EU. Is he planning on imposing taxes on EU imports? Yeah.
Am I going to impose tariffs on the European Union? Do you want the truthful answer, or should I give you a political answer? Absolutely.
With respect to EU, though, it is much more this aspect of Trump's philosophy on trade, with which I part company, and it's this idea that trade deficits matter, that he wants to square the balance sheet, that we have to be trading with a country as much, we have to be exporting as much in goods from country X as we're importing, otherwise we're somehow getting the short end of the stick, he explained on the tarmac.
It will definitely happen with the European Union, I can tell you that, because they've really taken advantage of us. And, we have over a $300 billion deficit. They don't take our cars, they don't take our farm products, they take almost nothing. And we take everything from them, millions of cars, tremendous amounts of food and farm products. So the UK is way out of line, and we'll see. The UK, but European Union is really out of line. UK is out of line, but I'm sure I think that one can be worked out. But the European Union it's an atrocity, what they've done.
Well, I mean, we'll probably get into this a little bit more in the 6 o'clock hour when Scott the Cow Guy Shelody joins us. But trade deficits don't matter. I'm happy to have the discussions and arguments with Scott the Cow Guy or anybody else, but we've been here before because this is President again Trump. We talked about this during his term. We've talked about this a bit during the campaign. Well, both the last two campaigns, 16, 20, 24, and nothing changes in terms of economic fundamentals. The use of tariffs as a cudgel to exact concessions that are in our national security interest, understandable. The use of tariffs as a cudgel to get other countries to reduce their protectionist policies, because it's not like Mexico and Canada are free trade countries. They're very protectionist. They have high trade barriers for our goods. To use that as a way to get both sides to reduce trade barriers in the interests of free trade, in the best interests of the consumers of all countries, and starting with America, that makes sense to some extent. But it's a dangerous game. Trump, however, believes that whatever short-term pain that may come from long-standing tariffs, if this goes on, if this sort of reignites after 30 days and extends for a period of time until he gets what he wants from Mexico, Canada, China, the EU, he's betting that the short-term pain is something that the American people will tolerate, and they understand it, and there'll be long-term gain.
We may have short-term, a little pain, and people understand that. But long-term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country in the world. We have deficits with almost every country. Not every country, but almost. And we're going to change it. It's been unfair. That's why we owe $36 trillion. We have deficits with everybody. We help everybody. We've been helping everybody for years. And to be honest, I don't think they appreciate it. So we're going to change that. We're going to change it fast. We're going to make America great again. We have to focus on our country. We have tremendous potential if properly used, and we have to focus on our country. Tremendous deficits with China, tremendous deficits with the European Union, tremendous deficits with Mexico and Canada. And why? What's the purpose of that? Why would we have deficits?
Somebody needs to reread Wealth of Nations. Kip in Stillman Valley, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, good morning. First off, let me just say that I think what he's doing in order to get countries to go our way on our security is brilliant. But my question is, what was that law during the Obama administration that they overturned or executive order out with the news media being propagandists? I can't remember what it was, or maybe it's misinformation. But but they ought to look into that, and because they're still saying that if there were going to be tariffs, that we're going to have all this hell on earth with the prices, and like nothing's really being done. But anyway, I think Trump and everybody so far that's accepted into his administration, they're doing a great job. And I'll hang up and listen. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks for the call, Kip. Well, I think you're always safe, blaming Canada. We learned this a long time ago from, Trey and Matt over at South Park.
Blame Canada! Blame Canada! It seems that everything's gone wrong since Canada came along. Blame Canada! Blame Canada!
They're not even a real country anyway.
Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com. MyPillow is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 30% on their brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one Mike has worn every day for 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get the 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And the best-selling standard My Pillow, just $14.98. To take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to mypillow.com or call 800-489-0201. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship has sailed, because right now every order ships absolutely free. mypillow.com, promo code LIBERTY.
There is a place in northern Illinois that people have come from all around the globe seeking treasure.
It's amazing. I didn't know what to expect, but when I got there, I was surrounded by all kinds of gold and silver.
An actual place where you're surrounded by treasure?
I've known that gold and silver were a good investment, but I really didn't want to buy it through the mail. At Fox Valley Coins, I basically walked in, picked out what I wanted, paid cash, and walked out with gold and silver.
Walk in with paper and walk out with actual gold and silver bars. For decades, Fox Valley Coins has traded paper dollars for actual gold and silver. They buy and sell. The treasure map is available at foxvalleycoins.com. They are on Route 59, 1 light north of I-88 in Naperville, Illinois. Again, for info and the map, seek foxvalleycoins.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
You know who I'd really like to see shipped off to Gitmo?
Who?
I mean, there are many, but included on the list is New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy. The good news is I may get my wish, 538.
Okay, but first let's stop by that newsroom and check in with Mike Scott.
532, 28 degrees, and at least 6 are injured in a shooting attack at a checkpoint in the Israeli-occupied West Bank early this morning. The Israeli military saying an attacker fired at soldiers at a checkpoint in the village of Taysir, located in the northern West Bank. That comes as Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu are set to meet for talks in Washington. It also comes as the Israeli prime minister faces pressure from a right-wing coalition to end the temporary truce with Hamas and resume the war. El Salvador says it will house violent U.S. criminals and take in deportees of any nationality. Secretary of State Marco Rubio this morning announcing the deal, calling it an extraordinary friendship.
He has offered to house in his jails dangerous American criminals.
El Salvador would not only take in El Salvadorians who entered the U.S. illegally, but again, criminal illegal migrants of any nationality. China slapping tariffs on some U.S. products, retaliation for tariffs President Trump enacted. Here's Fox's Jonathan Savage.
These new tariffs are due to come into force next Monday. 15% on American natural gas, 10% on crude oil, agricultural machinery and large-engined cars. Beijing's responding to President Donald Trump's decision to implement a 25% additional tariff on imports from China. The Chinese Finance Ministry saying the American tariff seriously violates the rules of the World Trade Organization. China's also announced an investigation into Google for allegedly violating antitrust laws. Google's been blocked in China since 2010. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
The Senate confirms fossil fuel executive Chris Wright to serve as Energy Secretary. Crews have removed the fuselage from the Potomac River near the nation's capital. All following last week's mid-air collision, Army Corps of Engineers Colonel Francis Pera discusses the ongoing wreckage recovery.
Our goal is really to complete our commitment to finishing the civilian plane recovery. Tomorrow our goal is going to be the cockpit.
The NTSB is expected to address the current investigation today. More rain headed to California. Powerful storms along the West Coast could bring flooding, mudslides, and heavy snow to parts of northern California. The NFL touting its security ahead of Super Bowl 59. Stephen Cyrus is special agent in charge for the FBI in New Orleans.
Our special agent bomb technicians and our weapons of mass destruction coordinators are working with a whole host of partners here in New Orleans to keep Super Bowl events free from hazardous devices or substances. We're deploying tactical assets, including our New Orleans SWAT team.
The plan includes help from the Department of Homeland Security. They've dispatched 500 FBI personnel. Chicago sports. Stumbling Bulls will try to get back in the win column when they host Miami tonight. Blackhawks prepping for the Oilers tomorrow. College hoops tonight. Notre Dame and Florida State in the Big Ten Northwestern and USC at Welsh Ryan. Also tonight, Loyola will host St. Bonaventure. The news is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. You could save 90% off on average to get your smile pack with a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP. Learn more. Check if you qualify. Almostfreeteeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On March 4th, President Trump will make his first address to a joint session of Congress of his new presidency.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a watch party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/watch. That's 560theanswer.com/watch.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-839-8484, 800-839-8484, 800-839-8484.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
540, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Ike inbound right now, rollover accident. 2 right lanes are blocked inbound between Central and Laramie this morning. Traveling on the Dan Ryan outbound, you have an accident on the outbound on-ramp from Roosevelt Road, and delays as you travel in the McKinley Park neighborhood, Damon, just north of the Stevenson report of an accident. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Clouds on the increase and colder today. It is winter, high 27. Low clouds and 24. An icy mix tomorrow and a high of 34. 29. Skies are clearing right now. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We may have the first politician to be prosecuted for aiding and abetting illegal immigration, an illegal immigrant in particular, to be specific. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, who I'm sure you've seen, he's just totally obnoxious. He's made a $1 kajillion as a Goldman Sachs money changer. And
he was insufferable during COVID.
Yeah, he was one of the worst, right there with Jelly Belly and Handsy Andy Cuomo and and Patrick Bateman out on the West Coast. Yeah, the Eva Peron of East Lansing too. Those 5
should be in jail for what they did to us.
Well, maybe we'll get our wish, not for that, unfortunately, but for something else. And it was Phil Murphy who did himself in, if he's telling the truth. His story.
But there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to. And we said, you know what, let's have her live at our house above our garage. And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
Not only is he announcing that he's harboring a person in this country illegally, he's also daring Tom Homan. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, I think the governor's pretty foolish saying what he said, because I got note of it, won't let it go, we'll look into it. And if he's knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien, that's a violation of Title 8 United States Code 1324. I would seek prosecution, or the secretary would seek prosecution. So maybe he's bluffing. If he's not, we'll deal with that.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on that very same line.
He could also, Phil Murphy, in addition to being the first politician prosecuted, upon conviction, he could be the first politician that we exile. And we've got some options now. It's not just Gitmo. I know that's being prepped. But as Trump floated the idea that some of our vicious domestic criminals, repeat violent offenders, or, these tin horn dictators of blue states, maybe they could be outsourced to a foreign country and they'll imprison them for a small fee. Well, the president of El Salvador, Bukele, we have offered the United States of America the opportunity to outsource part of its prison system. We're willing to take in only convicted criminals, including convicted U.S. citizens, into our mega prison in exchange for a fee. The fee would be relatively low for the U.S., but significant for us, making our entire prison system sustainable. And they run a tight ship over at the prison, this mega prison that he's referencing. If you haven't seen the videos, they're worth checking out online. It's a tight ship.
I love that. I watched it again last night. Yeah, they're very disciplined. I mean, there's no luxuries at all. You get out for about maybe a half hour. They do provide 3 meals, but a bucket and a cell with about 100 other men that everybody has to share for the bathroom. And then they put you in front of the cell to do exercises for a half hour, and that is it. And all the lights are on, so you never go to sleep. I mean, there's never darkness.
That's not quite right, but it's a tight ship. Not quite right, but that's a tight ship. You go to solitary, you go in the darkness if you get in a fight with another prisoner,
right, for 15
days. So on and so forth. But anyway, just the idea of a COVIDian blue state governor harboring an illegal immigrant, according to him, being exiled to confined space in Central America makes me smile. I got to say, it really does. I know, and if the left is going to get all high and mighty about this, then well, go ahead. Go ahead. The thuggish nature of politicians like Phil Murphy and those other governors, not just during COVID, but most acutely during COVID, and the complete lack of reckoning. I know there was an opportunity to do it at the ballot box in all of these states, and all of these states failed on the job because their electorates are, relatively dismal. But
well, then Roe v. Wade got overturned, and that's one.
But Phil Murphy narrowly won his reelection. So that was a close race. New Jersey's interesting, just as an aside, because New Jersey may be flipping in the next cycle or two. Mm-hmm. And Phil Murphy is term limited, so he's up this year. He's up this year, for Virginia and New Jersey. So
they better put a good Republican candidate up.
Yeah, FYI, just an opportunity. And boy, what another indictment of Illinois that would be if New Jersey goes back red before Illinois does. Anyway, Tom Homan had more to say about the state of affairs with respect to the new attitude and the new regime when it comes to border security. This promise he made on behalf of Trump.
Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. There's one example, right? If the young sanctuary cities in New York City, if they would have gave us over the killer of Laken Riley when he got arrested in New York City for endangering a child, he would have been in jail, and he would have never killed Laken Riley. Sanctuary cities are responsible for deaths of thousands. Yep. Thousands of young children throughout my career, and we're going to sue them. We're going to hold them. And look, if he's got to go to the Supreme Court, that's what President Trump wanted to do. He will end sanctuary cities.
Jay Belly, was on MSNBC over the weekend trying to burnish his national stature.
Running for president.
And talked, of course, what else do they talk about on MSNBC, but how are you going to combat Trump and Trump policies at every turn? And here's what Jay Belly had to say.
Well, I'm not afraid, and none of us should be afraid. We should be standing up, speaking out. We should be very clear about our messaging. And very importantly, Donald Trump is attacking working families. We are the front lines of protecting working families, we governors, right? Because we're delivering the services that people need in the states. So we are talking to one another. Many of us have had phone calls with one another to talk about, what do you think? How are you talking about this? What are you doing to protect people from cuts and Meals on Wheels and others? So there's been a lot of, I wouldn't call it coordination, but I just say we're sharing a lot of ideas with one another.
Cuts and Meals on Wheels. Isn't that cute? Right, of course. Yeah, that's what this is all about. Reining in runaway spending is all about cutting the Wheels and Meals programs, right? I mean, the guy is so preternaturally dishonest, but that's what he shares in common with Phil Murphy and Eva Peron of East Lansing and Patrick Bateman and Hansi Andy Cuomo and now Kathy Hochul, and the list goes on. The usual suspects from the usual places. The interesting thing is this great champion of working families. I wish somebody would ask him to explain why a majority of Illinoisans, it's not near the majority that it should be in terms of spread, but a majority of Illinoisans think Illinois is on the wrong track.
Right.
And they have when Biden was president as well as Trump. And Jelly Belly's had 7 years. So, I mean, they're not holding you responsible. And maybe that's because of the quality of the candidates Republicans have put up. But they're clearly the majority of Illinoisans, those working families that he champions, think the state is on the wrong track, which means they think their situation is on the wrong track. And Jelly Belly went on to say that, they will fight on every front.
We obviously need to go to court, and we did over the last 2 weeks. And FYI, we've won 3 times in a row going to federal court. So we're going to continue to do that because we know that we're on the right side of the law and the Trump administration's on the wrong side. But governors are at the front lines. You know, we're the ones who are taking the brunt of what they're trying to cut at the federal government level. And we need our federal officials, Democrats, to stand up and speak out, vote against nominees from the Trump administration until the Republicans finally capitulate to the idea that they're hurt too by these Trump attacks. Governors in Republican states like Louisiana have spoken out and said, like, this is bad for our people. And I've personally spoken with, 100 governors across the state of Illinois who are Republicans who want me to help them protect their people from what Donald Trump's trying to do to their working families.
We have 100 governors across the state of Illinois.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to understand how municipal government works. It's mayors or village presidents. Governors, we'll give him a break. He misspoke.
We all make mistakes, but
he's
they can be forgiven.
He's spoken to 100 mayors or village presidents, really. Republicans. Can you name some? Name some.
Mayors in Illinois that are Republicans.
I want mayors or village presidents in Illinois that are bitching about Trump policies to J.B. Pritzker. Protect us from Trump.
What are their names? Right.
That's what I want to hear who they are.
I agree.
Mike in Union.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Let's just say that Governor Pritzker's right about the Meals on Wheels program. Maybe he could just reinstitute the free McDonald's French fries up to in the COVID era. That'll take care of all the problems.
No, that's true, right?
Ticket to Great America.
The prize is to get your jab. Mm-hmm.
$50 Visa card, then a $100 Visa card.
It's interesting, too. At some point, this is going to resonate more widely in Illinois, but it is interesting where it's resonating. Resonating in, you're talking about working families again. These issues, the lawlessness that Pritzker suborns, both domestic and imported criminals. It's going to boomerang on him at some point. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the reckoning will come at the state level in Illinois. It's just Chicagoland, with the exception of some of these demographics that are starting to look at things differently, is just tough. But these wealthier suburbs are a disaster. But it's in majority-minority neighborhoods where you're starting to see real movement in terms of attitudes about policies like open borders, policies like sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, Safety Act, all of this. It is, if you treat it as an amalgam, this is one of the things that is destroying the quality of life for people that have the least amount of means to escape it. Yep. And this is why you're seeing movement disproportionately among black and Hispanic voters, not necessarily identifying as Republican, although that's increasing, but movement against these policies in a way that you're not seeing it in Glencoe or Naperville, which is great because I could care less about Glencoe or Naperville. But I'm really interested in people that are sensible, that are hardworking, that are trying to climb their way up the ladder the right way, and who are getting destroyed by a government they finance. That's what's interesting to me. And if it was interesting enough, if it was a little bit more interesting to the Republican Party in Illinois, then maybe you could deliver that reckoning to Jay Belly at the state level.
Text message, Dan and Amy, I hope Tom Homan arrests that arrogant New Jersey governor.
Yep. And
what a message that would send, because he's poking the bear right now, you know?
Yeah, right. Well, that's what Murphy. Yeah, and the feds want to come. Okay,
come on. You know, it's above my garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a girl. I got living there. I mean,
very Jesse Jackson Jr. Bring it on. Okay, and it got brought. So okay, bring it on, Phil. Okay, right. And you got to come through me, Jelly Belly. Okay, all right. Go ahead, cross the line. Well, as soon as a politician crosses the line, as Phil Murphy is bragging he has, this is where Homan and company need to deliver and make an example. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. If Phil Murphy thinks that this is his way to be a cause celeb and so on and so forth, free Phil Murphy, do it. Go ahead.
And the person he's harboring.
I'm willing to have that fight. I'm willing to have that public fight.
The person who's probably, harboring probably wouldn't have gotten arrested anyway. But now that he's putting them on display and luring them in,
well, it's classic.
Happen.
It's classic new Marxist messaging. Yeah. Here's my mascot. I'm a hero. I invited a illegal immigrant to live above my garage in my mansion in New Jersey. She's my mascot. She's my credential, so that I can run for Senate or who knows, maybe president. All these guys think they should be president.
Right.
George in Naperville.
The governors keep marching on again, hurrah, hurrah. The governors keep marching on again, hurrah. The boys will cheer, the men will shout, the ladies, they will all turn out when the governors come marching on.
Hurrah.
Okay. When I saw hurrah, I misread. I thought he was going to go a harumph. I thought he was going to go Blazing Saddles and like a harumph, because that's more the sort of character of the left. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm 80 years old. I'm a veteran, and the reds and the greens, I really appreciate the vegan capsules from Balance of Nature. So I can definitely tell you it's all 100% positive. It really, really works.
I love the fiber and spice. I'm getting started back on the fruits and vegetables, but the fiber and spice, it's the best fiber I've ever taken in the last 20 years.
It's the best gift I've ever given myself. I just feel better. I swear it's due to Balance of Nature.
I am really, really happy with the product and couldn't say more to advise people to buy them.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping as a new preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to Washington, D.C. constitutes the first foreign leader to meet with President Donald Trump since his inauguration. The consequences of their relationship cannot be understated, and Trump is broadcasting important signals. With Israel on one side and various Islamic and Arab regimes on the other, some endemically committed to Israel's literal destruction, Trump, in his first term, made clear whose side America was on in the Middle East. He squarely put America on Israel's side and made policy decisions that brooked no doubt. The Middle East does not have to be seen as two scorpions in a bottle, with Israel as one scorpion and our enemies the other, each pacified here and there, each sanctioned here and there. It can be one bottle and one scorpion, a scorpion that needs to be depoisoned. Being squarely behind our ally and broadcasting that both instructs and proves the path to peace, avoiding both sidesism. President Trump refreshingly understands that. I'm Seth Leibson.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere, delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Samsung TV Plus, channel 1177. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Boy, the new Marxists are really upset about that $47,000 for trans opera in Colombia being cut from the budget. We'll explain why at 6:06.
And what are the Somalians going to do now? But first, let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Chicago's top cop comments on a deadly police shooting. And the Bulls prepare for the heat. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
China retaliates. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Hours after the U.S. imposed additional 10% tariffs on Chinese imports early this morning over the flow of deadly drug fentanyl into the U.S., Fox's Madeline Rivera reports China is
slapping a 15% tariff on coal and liquefied natural gas products, as well as a 10% tariff on crude oil, agricultural machinery, and large displacement cars coming from the U.S. China said it would also launch an investigation into Google to see if it's violated antitrust laws. The tariffs are expected to take effect on Monday, that is, unless President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping strike a deal.
The president did work out deals to delay tariffs on Mexico and Canada for a month after leaders of those countries agreed to do more to secure the southern and northern borders. As mass deportations ramp up for illegal immigrants who commit crimes or are security threats, Secretary of State Marco Rubio went to El Salvador and worked out a deal to send prisoners there.
This won't just apply to El Salvadorians who commit crimes in the United States. It'll apply to Americans as well, prisoners, in fact, of any nationality.
An act of extraordinary friendship to our country.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio hailing El Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele. President Bukele's agreed to accept illegal migrants and dangerous criminals the U.S. government wants to deport.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Now, sending American convicts to El Salvador's prisons would face legal challenges. President Trump will meet today with Israel's prime minister for talks about extending the ceasefire deal with Hamas in Gaza. As Israeli forces keep battling militants in the West Bank, 2 soldiers were killed today. There's a new cabinet secretary.
Let's vote. The ayes are 59, the nays are 38. The nominee is confirmed.
The Senate approving Chris Wright as Energy Secretary. Today, 2 controversial Trump nominees face key committee votes amid even some Republican skepticism. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for Health and Human Services Secretary, Tulsi Gabbard in line to be Director of National Intelligence. America's listening to Fox News.
28 degrees in Chicago at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. The Trump administration is opening new investigations into allegations of anti-Semitism at 5 U.S. universities, including Northwestern University. Chicago's police superintendent addressing questions about a deadly police shooting over the weekend on the west side. CPD's Larry Snelling saying it's always unfortunate when there is a loss of life, but sometimes certain actions are necessary to protect the lives of the innocent.
It's always unfortunate when there's a loss of life in these situations. We try to handle these situations as delicately as we possibly can. However, sometimes actions are absolutely necessary to protect the lives of the innocent.
A teen is in custody after 2 other teens were stabbed on the south side. Chicago police say a 15 and 16-year-old got into a fight with another 15-year-old who pulled a knife. That 15-year-old stabbed that sharp object into the other 2 teens and then fled, later taken into custody in the 3100 block of South Giles. 1 man is dead following a shooting and stabbing on the west side. Police say the victim was found last night inside of a home in the 800 block of North Christina with a stab wound to the abdomen, also with a graze wound to the face. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, later pronounced dead. No arrests have been made. Dozens of employees at the Chicago office of the EPA may be out of a job soon. The Sun-Times says an email was sent out last week by members of the Trump administration warning workers who have not worked long enough to secure civil service job protection benefits that they could be fired. Chicago sports. Bulls try to get back in the win column when they host Miami at the UC tonight. College hoops. Northwestern looks to avoid a 4th straight loss when they host USC at Welsh Ryan Arena. The news service of Low T Center. Look for personalized treatment like you'll get with the TRT experts at Low T Center. Low T Center brings over a decade of experience, so go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Hugh Hewitt explains Trump's new party,
which I'll call GOP-H, the GOP hybrid party. It includes everyone and more who want to come over. He is not an ideologue. He's a common-sense center-right conservative, and he expanded the party significantly. The Trump party, the Republican Party of Trump, is a big tent party.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
This Valentine's season, the Ministry of Preborn invites you to become a heartbeat hero and share the love that goes beyond a box of chocolates, a love that saves lives. Every day, thousands of women are told the lie that abortion is their only option. They can't do it, that there is no hope. But that mother in crisis, when she sees her baby on an ultrasound at a preborn network clinic, it doubles her chances at choosing life. This isn't just an image on a screen. It's about a mom hearing the baby's heartbeat, maybe for the first time, and realizing that's a gift growing inside of her. One preborn supporter said, "Knowing my gift could save a life was the most meaningful act of love I could give." For $28, you can provide an ultrasound and help a mom in crisis choose life. $140 provides 5 ultrasounds. So this Valentine's season, take a stand, be bold, become a heartbeat hero. Dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/Beck. That's preborn.com/Beck.
So how's the separation going? Are you guys able to work things out?
No. I think we're headed for divorce.
That sucks. Gonna be an expensive legal battle?
Well, no, that's one thing we agree on, actually. Arbitration.
Arbitration? Like mediation?
Sort of, but better. We'll have a firm decision.
Oh, that's easier. Who's your arbitrator?
Bert Hochberg.
That attorney at Schiller, DeCanto, and Fleck?
Yeah, senior partner. Comes highly recommended.
Are you facing divorce or a family law issue? Burton S. Hochberg offers arbitration services, a dispute resolution process that will save you time, money, and the complexity of litigation. Let Burton hear and resolve your claims with choices that best suit you and yours. To discuss, call Bert directly, or even better, have your attorney call Bert at 773-255-6150. That's 773-255-6150. Again, 773-255-6150.
No one knows arbitration like Bert Hochberg. Why go through a difficult divorce? Call Bert at Schiller, DeCanto, and Fleck, Chicago's preeminent family law firm since 1981.
6:07. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, and slowdowns already on the Ike. Coming inbound between Des Plaines Avenue and Laramie this morning. Stevenson on the brakes, Cicero to Kedzie this morning. Dan Ryan slowing up inbound between the Stevenson and 18th. Tri-State, you've got debris all through the right lane, southbound on 294, just north of the Jane Addams Tollway. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast and the very latest with Steve Williams.
Clouds will be increasing for us today. Colder afternoon, high 27. Cloudy tonight, low 24. Snow, sleet, freezing rain tomorrow afternoon. We could see about an inch. The high tomorrow afternoon, 34. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
It is 29 at O'Hare. Your next news update at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, and my, oh my, are the new Marxists unsettled about the Trump administration tinkering with USAID. My, oh my, are they upset. Why, oh why do you think that is?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I can't imagine why they're so upset, Dan. Can you?
Before we get to that, just as a quick aside, because I made this reference. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, but got a letter about it yesterday, calling Democrats new Marxists, the new Marxist Party.
Yeah.
The missive I got reads, "Dear Casey." No, it's to me.
My dog died.
I listened to the morning podcast, couldn't help notice you referenced it to Democrats as new Marxists. As a Democrat and very much a capitalist, I resent this because it's not true and it's very divisive. It would be easy to refer to Republicans as new Nazis, which is obviously not true. If you really wanted to try to speak to all listeners, many of us Democrats may not agree with everything President Trump advocates, but still want to give him a chance and wish him well. How are you ever going to unify our nation and have a two-party system with attitudes like yours?
Yeah.
I think you would be surprised to find out very few Democrats are Marxists, just like very few, if any, Republicans are Nazis. Couldn't it be that you are as much an identitarian as you accuse others of being? Your thoughts.
Oh,
Thank you. All right. So I gave him my thoughts. In terms of the Republican Nazi thing, reminder, Nazis equal National Socialists. As such, you can make whatever evidence-free ad hominem you want, but it's curious logic to suggest your inaccurate term undermines my accurate term. The truth doesn't fear a falsehood. Furthermore, let me inform your understanding of identitarianism. To group people by a belief system is to group them by a philosophy that informs their behavior. For example, New Marxists. To group people by race, ethnicity, or sex is to group them by an arbitrary, non-behavioral characteristic that does not inform their beliefs or thus their behavior. Finally, the new in Marxism is grouping people by said non-behavioral characteristics described above rather than by an alleged economic case to demand benefits and assign burdens just the same as the old Marxism did. As I've explained before, but I'm explaining again because some people still have gotten the message. So they're using race and sex where they use alleged class status, if you want to turn back the dial and go to the period in time when Karl Marx was roaming the earth. Just as a man can call himself a woman, but it doesn't make it so, so a new Marxist can call himself a capitalist, and it doesn't make it so. But I did ask if he would prefer Sentimental Barbarian Party, which I'm also happy to use. If that's if that generates less resentment, I'm happy to call the Democrats, instead of the New Marxists, which they are, I'm happy to call them the Sentimental Barbarian Party, which they also are. Does that help? Help explain it at least? Because that's what they are. All these people that think they're a capitalist because they work at in some corporate environment and they live in some, their conspicuous consumptions. They got a nice house and they drive one of those Mercedes EZZs and all that, and they send their kids to private school. I'm a capitalist. I work. I make my money. I spend it. I believe in business and entrepreneurship and so forth. Yeah, and yet you don't preach what you practice, which is the criticism of Charles Murray in Coming Apart. More than that, you support policies and people who advance policies that undermine the foundations of a free society. So you can call yourself a capitalist. In most cases, they're rent seekers. But even if you're truly a capitalist, truly an entrepreneur who's made a cajillion dollars, because there are those and they're on the left, then you're turning around because of the cultural Marxism you support and undermining the pillars of a free society. You're essentially, as we've tried to explain before, cutting the bridge behind you. So, again, call yourself what you will. I'm really less interested in labels than I am in behavior that speaks to labels for the category of organizing people by belief systems, because that's how we figure out who's really in the business of promoting a free society and who isn't. Okay. Little tutorial there for our friends on the left.
Thank you.
Who are offended by my nomenclature. That's fine. So back to USAID, this $50 billion development agency. It's not aid, U.S. Agency for International Development. And just a little backstory here that may inform why the left is so upset about any tinkering with USAID. So this was born out of an executive order JFK issued after the Congress passed the Foreign Assistance Act in the early 60s. And it was intended to essentially aggregate the money that was being run by CIA, by State Department, by the Pentagon, because they were sort of stepping on each other. They were all doing their own thing, running money for their own particular interests, under the umbrella of providing for our national security and so forth. So that's the basis of it. It was running money for the purposes of capacity building and influencing foreign actors and foreign countries.
Buying our friendships.
In part, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Want to pedestrianize the issue? Yes, that's what I explained to somebody yesterday. But then it got abused, right?
Well,
like everything else.
So it's sort of. I would argue it was sort of born out of abuse. It was destined for abuse, but that's most government agencies, I suppose. Anyway,
and we're finally finding out where our tax dollars are going. So tell them.
If you really want to pedestrianize the issue, Trump did as good as you're going to do.
It's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out. USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we're getting them out, and then we'll make a decision.
Getting the radical lunatics out. That's what this is about. Okay. And what have the radical lunatics been doing? Well, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has the receipts.
And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government. Thank you, guys.
I gotta say, though, that DEI musical in Ireland was outstanding, better than Cats.
That's why you went to Ireland, right?
Yeah,
You went to visit.
Outstanding.
You weren't playing golf, you were seeing that music.
So it's being spent on these things. There's the list is endless. An Iranian version of Sesame Street. Yes, right. Seriously. Because that's how we're going to influence the mullahs. We're going to overthrow the regime in Tehran if everybody gets hooked on electric company. So it's all silly. But if it's just silliness, why are the Dems, the new Marxists, the sentimental barbarian party, why are they so vociferous in their opposition? It's strange, isn't it? I mean, listen to some of them.
Well, they were out of their mind. I thought Jamie Raskin was going to have a heart attack. He was shaking uncontrollably.
Chris Murphy. Chris Murphy is...
He's back.
This, pasty honky from Connecticut. He's awful. And we've got, a vault full of Chris Murphy clips just to remind you. But, he was in...
we talked about him last half hour.
Full lather Chris Murphy yesterday.
But let's not pull any punches about why this is happening. Elon Musk makes billions of dollars based off of his business with China. And China is cheering at this action today. There is no question that the billionaire class trying to take over our government right now is doing it based on self-interest. Their belief that if they can make us weaker in the world, if they can elevate their business partners all around the world, that they will gain the benefit. But there's another reason this is happening. They're shuttering agencies and sending employees home in order to create the illusion that they're saving money in order to do what? Pass a giant tax cut for billionaires and corporations.
Yeah, it's the old triple bank shot. Reducing federal workforce headcount and reining in USAID in order to set up the extension of the 2017 tax cuts. Okay.
And real quick, though, there was a mob of protesters in front of USAID headquarters, and then they stormed the building, and it looked a little insurrection-y to me, Did you see that? I'm like, what are they? They're bringing in flagpoles. They're chanting,
Well, as Chris Murphy explained, that's because this is a crisis of You know what proportions.
This is a constitutional crisis that we are in today. Let's call it what it is. The people get to decide how we defend the United States of America. The people get to decide how their taxpayer money is spent. Elon Musk does not get to decide.
Yeah, it was all about Elon, and with just part of Jamie Raskin losing his mind.
Elon Musk, you didn't create USAID. The United States Congress did for the American people.
What he
and
said.
Just like Elon Musk did not create USAID, he doesn't have the power to destroy it. And who's going to stop him? We are.
Yeah. Very constitutional crisis.
Yes, this is Dan. Don't
well,
you know
let's. I mean, just so we can set the table here. I mean, you understand what was done. Elon Musk didn't do anything other than perhaps put a spotlight on the spend at USAID. Marco Rubio yesterday explained what's happening with him assuming the role as the acting director of USAID.
Well, look, I mean, my frustration with USAID goes back to my time in Congress. It's a completely unresponsive agency. It's supposed to respond to policy directives of the State Department, and it refuses to do so. So the functions of USAID, there are a lot of functions of USAID that are going to continue, that are going to be part of American foreign policy, but it has to be aligned with American foreign policy. I said very clearly during my confirmation hearing that every dollar we spend and every program we fund, that will be aligned with the national interest of the United States. And USAID has a history of sort of ignoring that and deciding that there's somehow a global charity separate from the national interest. These are taxpayer dollars. And so I'm very troubled by these reports that they've been unwilling to cooperate with people who are asking simple questions about what does this program do, who gets the money, who are our contractors, who's funded, and that sort of level of insubordination makes it impossible to conduct the sort of mature and serious review that I think foreign aid writ large should have. We're spending taxpayer money here. These are not donor dollars. These are taxpayer dollars, and we owe the American people the assurances that every dollar we are spending abroad is being spent on something that furthers our national interest. And so far, a lot of the people that work at USAID have just simply refused to cooperate.
All he wants is the cast list for that trans opera in Colombia. Right. So why aren't they cooperating? I mean, why? What is the problem here? Why is everybody being so uncooperative and hysterical? Because, as you just heard from Rubio, they're not even saying that they're going to reduce the $50 billion budget of USAID. They're saying that the spend, as you just heard Rubio say, has to be aligned with our foreign policy and our national interests. So that's what they're doing, because they think that, for example, DEI musicals in Ireland or trans operas in Colombia or Sesame Street for the Iranians is not quite in alignment. But they're not saying anything about cutting spending. They're not saying anything about shuttering the agency. I mean, it may take a different form. That may be it's being restructured, brought within the State Department, as opposed to an independent agency that operates between the Pentagon, the State Department, and CIA. Why is everybody so upset?
Well, we know why Ilhan Omar is upset. I mean, they just suspended $125.5 million in aid. And she's pledged allegiance not to America. She has pledged allegiance to Somalia. So she was all, of course, out of sorts yesterday.
It is really, really a sad day in America. We are witnessing a constitutional crisis. We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like. When you
she's fighting for her brothers and sisters in Somalia.
Especially her brotherly love Spice.
Oh, yeah, who she was
the
married
Socialist
to.
Spice Girls, yeah. Especially fighting for her brother. By the way, I have to get to this. The State Department advisory on traveling to Somalia, Ilhan Omar's home country. Oh, man, it's a hoot. But anyway, that's a little tease. We'll get to it. Constitutional crisis.
There you go, yeah. Dictatorship.
I know that everything that Trump does is constitutional crisis, dictatorship, but I mean, why are they digging so deeply in on this? There's something else, I think, going on. There's something else that USAID has been up to that has been below the fold. Corey and Woodlawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. Thomas Jefferson said this: if I can add one amendment to the Constitution, it would be to take away the ability to print money. They know this is just the tip of the iceberg. These people have been spending our money on what they want to spend their money on. Nobody spends your money as well as they spend their own. They're wasting our money because they didn't earn it. It took nothing for them to get it. All they had to do was use the power to tax. And look at what they're wasting our money on. And this is just at the federal level. Imagine what your state, your county, and your city is wasting your funds on. Americans need to wake up.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
I mean,
Corey.
this Somalia deal, it's to healthcare education for women and youth empowerment. What in the world? What? That's a bunch of gobbledygook. That means somebody's skimming millions off at the top.
Jim in Lake Zurich.
Hey, Dan and Amy, we throw these number figures around. Sometimes it's easy to lose track of the amount of money we're talking about. So the $50 million that's going to USAID that nobody can quite figure out what they do with it, I looked it up the other day. That is equivalent to the yearly budget for the U.S. Marine Corps. So we should think of it that way. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the call, Jim.
Thank you for that research.
David, Racine.
Greetings and salutations, Dan and Amy. When Press Secretary Caroline Levin said that the spending from USAID was crap that she didn't want to pay for, I think she was selling the good name of crap.
Okay, thanks for the call. Caroline Levitt there.
Caroline
for you
Levitt.
Scoring at home. Ilhan Omar, not Ilian Omar.
Did I say Ilian?
Yeah, Ilian
Well,
Gonzalez
I'm the name
Omar.
assassinator, Dan.
No, I know.
I got to deliver on a daily basis.
And you do. And you just did. John Kennedy, not that John Kennedy who signed the executive order that created USAID, but Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, put it this way in response to the hue and cry you've heard from these new Marxists.
The tofu-eating Wokarati at the USAID are screaming like they're part of a prison riot because they don't want us reviewing the spending. But that's all Mr. Musk is doing, and he's finding some pretty interesting stuff. To my friends who are upset, I would say with respect, call somebody who cares. They better get used to this. It's USAID today. It's going to be Department of Education tomorrow. And really, here's what's going on. For 4 years under President Biden, the people in charge ask one simple question. Who needs to pay more in taxes? Who needs to pay more in taxes? Well, that's not the question that the Republicans and President Trump are going to ask. Our question is, what the hell happened to the money? And that's all that's going on.
Okay.
Yeah. We finally get to know where our tax dollars are going. This is so exciting.
Speaking of the Department of Education, Elon Musk tweeting out that Trump will succeed where Reagan failed in shutting down the Department of Education. And there is reporting that Trump is preparing an executive order to dismantle the department. You can't eliminate it formally without congressional action, and there's going to be movement in that direction, one is led to believe. But you can start to defund it and move money to other agencies to administer things like a school choice program. This is interesting, too. Again, this is speculation. It's not confirmed. But a federal tax credit program for K-12 scholarships, $10 billion per year for 10 years. Donors can contribute up to 10% of their adjusted gross income. So you would have, if that's true, you would have full-blown school choice at a federal level in this nation for K-12 school systems. That would be a big deal. So I hope it is true. And that's exactly what we've been beating the drum for years on this show. I'm not the only one by any stretch, but we've certainly been part of that chorus. Turn the Department of Education, take that money and just scholarship it. Just turn it into, essentially, if you can't eliminate it, turn it into a scholarship granting organization, eliminate most of the 4,400 employees, and now you're doing something to improve K through 12 education by providing choice for families who can't afford it and don't have it where they live. Say, for example, I don't know, in Illinois. Big deal. But still, there's something else going on with USAID. Why they're so upset. It's not just because they want to fund all of these silly things in foreign countries. And some legitimate things, too. But it's not that. Because, again, that's not even really, especially the legitimate things, as so deemed by Rubio and the Trump administration, they're not necessarily being cut. So why go, nuclear as your opener? Maybe because there's something else USAID has been doing. Something much more important than funding DEI musicals in Ireland.
Oh. Funding the Wuhan lab?
Well, that's one of them.
COVID-19?
That's one of them.
Yeah.
Part of funding research by patient zero in Wuhan, along with Tony Fauci's NIH. Yes. But there's something in addition to that that's particularly important to all of those sentimental barbarians you're hearing from. They've been funding lawfare. As Mike Benz, our friend from former State Department official, cybersecurity, and now the head of the Foundation for Freedom Online. Mike Benz in a chat yesterday, looking at where the money from USAID has gone and starting to connect the dots, had this.
Actually, FJP is a fiscally sponsored project of the Tide Center, which means they get their 501c3 status through the Tide Center. And they were also given funds by Open Society. And then you go to the Tide Center, and Tide Center is funded by USAID.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Kill the music. I'm sorry. These are USAID prosecutors. And you guys know, because you've seen 2 or 3 dozen streams by now, if you've been subbed for a while, about USAID and its role as a CIA conduit, as a pass-through for CIA, as the constant companion of the CIA. Go back and watch our 6-hour series called 10 Times USAID Was Busted as a CIA Cutout. And you'll see all the receipts in there. These are CIA prosecutors. That's what you're living under. Oh, that is too funny. That's too funny. USAID prosecutors. Make it trend. All right. FJP, which again, we need to recontextualize as being the aggregate sum of USAID, Bill Gates, the Ford Foundation, the Kellogg Foundation, and George Soros. What? But already, you guys see what I'm saying? If you just read the Daily Wire article, you would have thought it was 100% funded by George Soros, 100% controlled by George Soros. It's this one, pinky in the brain, one madman's monomaniacal quest to control the world, and they're all doing what he says. When it's a coalition of oligarchs in tandem with the Central Intelligence Agency via USAID.
I love the pinky in the brain reference. What he's saying, FJP is Fair and Just Prosecution, which is a nonprofit that supports and influences progressive candidates for district and state's attorney. And so FJP, right? So, so Open Society.
Glad I listened to the show.
Open Society is George Soros. So Soros gave $14 million to the parent company, the fiscal sponsor of FJP.
Okay.
USAID, $27 million to the parent company of FJP. Just compare that to the $10,000, say, Soros gave directly to Alvin Bragg. That's pennies. What's actually happening is, as he just said, go through those foundations, those leftist foundations, Kellogg and Gates and Open Society. They're all as a conglomerate in conjunction with the CIA, because USAID is, as he said, it's often been a cutout for the CIA, and that goes back to its inception 60 years ago. So those Soros prosecutors we've been talking about, these many years, Kim Foxx, Alvin Bragg, Larry Krasner, so on and so forth. They're really USAID prosecutors. The money that runs from the government to these nonprofits, just like the money that runs from government to NGOs to facilitate illegal immigration. Maybe that's why those new Marxists are so upset, because you're getting to the funding source of all of those de-incarceration prosecutors that they elevated to the big cities in America to destroy them from within through lawlessness internally while they were promoting lawlessness externally. Maybe that's why they're so upset. Coming up at 6:36, we'll turn our attention to markets with Scott the Cow Guy Shelley.
But now let's head into the newsroom first. Here's Mike Scott.
6:35. Panama is agreeing to work with the U.S. on several initiatives, all having to do with the Panama Canal. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said following meetings that the work is being done. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirms.
Rubio, who's doing a phenomenal job on behalf of President Trump, secured concessions from Panama. They are no longer going to charge U.S. naval ships who go through the canal, and they also have said they are no longer going to be a part of the CCP-led Belt and Road Initiative.
State Department estimates about 72% of all vessels coming through the canal are coming to or going from U.S. port. China slapping tariffs on some U.S. products, all in retaliation for tariffs President Trump enacted. Beijing overnight saying they'll charge an extra 15% on things like coal and liquefied natural gas. Director of National Intelligence nominee Tulsi Gabbard and Health and Human Services pick Robert F. Kennedy Jr. face critical committee votes today. Gabbard's nomination for National Intelligence Director has the support of a key Senate Republican, now Susan Collins. The Bears this morning reportedly making moves to extend GM Ryan Poles' contract extension that aligns with the new head coach Ben Johnson's 5-year contract. Trump administration opening investigations into allegations of anti-Semitism at 5 major U.S. universities, including Northwestern University. Bulls take on Miami tonight. Big Ten college hoops, Northwestern will host USC at Welsh Ryan. The news is a service of In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard at Sunday morning at 7:30 right here on AM 560. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Are you ready for it? The biggest game of the year is almost here. Will the reigning champs shake it off and defend their title? Or will the birds from Philly write their own love story and fly to victory? This showdown is the one you won't want to miss. Predict the exact score of the big game, and you could win $50,000 big dollars. For terms and conditions and to submit your prediction today, go to 560theanswer.com/game. That's 560theanswer.com/game.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move. We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, it's easy to find out. All you have to do is contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience, live and in person, They have an incredible market knowledge of what the market is right now. If you're ready to sell, they're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Simply go to DonleyAuctions.com to get all the info on all things they buy and sell. Donley needs your collections, and they need it now. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Simply make a phone call to Donley Auctions, as they have traveled the country for 5 decades. They know exactly how to pick up your collection. Just simply call 815-923-7000. The Pedal to the Metal auction is happening February 15th and 16th. It's a fantastic collection of cars, motorcycles, Petroliana, coin-op, and more. I will do my show from Donley Auctions this Friday to do a preview. This is your invitation. Join me from 4 to 7 p.m. this Friday at Donley Auctions.
If better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
6:40, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of Rapid Radio's Instant Push-to-Talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage, no subscription ever. Go to rapidradios.com now for up to 60% off and free shipping. Kennedy inbound already at 30 minutes. O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange. Inbound Ike. Crash on the frontage road right near the Eisenhower. It's inbound between 25th and Laramie. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Increasing clouds, colder today, high only of 27. Low clouds and 24 overnight, and an icy mix right in time for that morning drive to work. We could see an inch of snow as well, with a high near 34. It's partly cloudy and 28 right now. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I was mistaken. We have Scott the Cow Guy at the top of the 7 o'clock hour, so stay tuned for that. Just want to go through that USAID thing one more time to make sure people got it. And I encourage people to check out Mike Benz on X, too, for additional context. But the whole Soros prosecutor thing, I mean, this is a big deal. So you have these layers of organizations and nonprofits. And as Benz explains, looking through the spend of USAID, Soros gave $14 million to the Tides Foundation, which is the fiscal sponsor of Fair and Just Prosecution, which is a nonprofit that supports and influences progressive prosecutors and candidates for district attorney and state's attorney around the country. These are the organizations that prop up the Krasners and the Kim Foxes and the Alvin Braggs and Marilyn Mosbys and on and on and on. Pick a city and pick a big city, any big city. So George Soros gave them $14 million. Tides Foundation, which sponsors Fair and Just Prosecution, which is a nonprofit that supports all of these non-prosecution, decarceration, defund the police prosecutors. By comparison, USAID, our money, we gave this organization 2 times what Soros did.
Oh, my gosh.
So they're not Soros prosecutors. They're federal government through USAID funded prosecutors as much as they are Soros prosecutors. The big bad wolf isn't Soros as much as it is our own government. Is that a big deal? That's a big deal.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line, or you could text us. This is like shocking information.
Follow the money. I mean, it's, in a sense, it's not shocking. I mean, given all that we know about the federal government funding all sorts of lawlessness. So if you're going to fund lawlessness at the border and fund organizations that help to smuggle, traffic, if you will, illegal immigrants into this country, I mean, you might as well put those seeking to undermine the law in positions of law enforcement. Why not? In for a penny, in for a pound.
Plus sanctuary cities, plus soft on crime, plus the Demonic Safety Act. I mean, it's just a recipe for death and destruction.
Plus mutilation of children.
Yeah.
Plus transing prisoners at taxpayer expense.
And people
convicted
in the military.
felons.
Remember, we had that guest on. He said there's how many transgenders in the military? Most of them joined to get their reassignment surgery paid for.
Well,
sick. They got to end that now. Which I think they did.
The whole business. But how about this? How about this? Just in terms of moving into another area where the new Marxist Party is had the run of the place. Stephen Joseph Hayes now identifies as Linda May Lee.
Okay.
Newsweek did a wonderful hagiographic piece on the man formerly known as Stephen Joseph Hayes, because they want to promote the same thing that Kamala Harris did, taxpayer-funded gender transition surgery for convicted felons. For the first time in my life, I'm happy to be alive and I do not want to die, he said, adding that he intends to resume hormone replacement therapy shortly. The vast majority of inmates in Oregon State Penitentiary are men, but Lee said he is able to wear makeup, eyeshadow, foundation, eyeliner, and even lipstick on occasion. Wow. He also cherishes his jewelry, including rings and necklaces, as well as bras, panties, and what he called a slightly feminized uniform. That had eliminated his thoughts of suicide. He's now seeking breast augmentation and hair replacement therapy since male pattern baldness drastically enhances his gender dysphoria. Stephen Hayes, who now identifies as Linda May Lee and is living his best life with the makeup and the jewelry, looking forward to getting his boobs done.
What's he in for?
In July of 2007, Hayes broke into the home of the Pettit family in Cheshire, Connecticut. He beat the father, William Pettit, with a baseball bat and tied him in the basement.
Oh, God.
He then raped and strangled Pettit's wife, Jennifer. He then raped Pettit's 11-year-old daughter, then tied Michaela, the daughter, and her sister, Haley, to their beds and set their rooms on fire. So we're paying for someone convicted of gruesomely murdering 4 people to live his best life as a pretend woman in a federal penitentiary in Oregon. Or a state penitentiary in Oregon. State penitentiary. Because that's state law in Oregon. Places like Oregon, where you saw this weekend, Salem, too. Salem, Oregon, the protests going on, stopping traffic, just like they did on the 101 in L.A., illegal immigrants waving the flags of their home country that they apparently don't want to go back to, which is rather ironic. The lawlessness. Because, places like Portland and Salem, especially Portland, we know this, they've got one of those USAID funded prosecutors, too. They're a sanctuary jurisdiction, too. Where a cultural Marxists reign, where the new Marxist Party is dominant. That's where you'll find Stephen Joseph Hayes getting his boobs done at taxpayer expense.
Living his best life. That's what he said. He's happy while he destroyed a family.
There's a protest, speaking of this, because one of the executive orders right out of the gate was to eliminate the mutilation of children, the so-called gender-affirming care, hardly. And so now some hospitals, taking note of the executive order and not wanting to be targeted for prosecution, defunding, all of the above, are ending their practice of mutilating people under the age of 18, 19, including NYU Hospital, Langone, the Langone Hospital at the campus of New York University. There was a protest there yesterday. Listen to this dude pretending to be a woman outside of NYU Langone Hospital. Listen to the commentary here. It's quite telling that this is about gender-affirming care. This is about parents making sure they have a live son instead of a dead daughter and all of that other propaganda you hear from these ghouls.
Shut this entire city down! Not on our watch. Because what they will try to do, they will try to separate us. They will kick the trans people off the bus. They're kicking the indigenous people off the bus. They're kicking our intersex community off the bus. Our Two-Sphere Plus family, they're kicking them off the bus. They just want a membership LGBT bus. Well, guess what, babe? That LGBT bus, it's not going to have any gas. It won't have any tires. Y'all not going any far. Because we are a community that is made and has been woven with the fire and the spirit of revolution. Revolution! Revolution!
Revolution? What is he talking about? What an appeal to revolution? I thought this was about gender-affirming care and living a life how you truly are. What's this revolution? Revolution of what nature against what institution? That was an excited utterance there, a borderline confession from these new Marxist thugs, which the Lavender Bund, the activist set like this dude, absolutely are. These are cultural Marxist revolutionaries. That's what these movements are about. And yes, some are sort of innocently drawn in and they're confused and they become, but in terms of the core of it, just like the core of the Sentimental Barbarian Party, is cultural Marxism, is revolution against the foundational institutions, both public and private, of a free society, including the family. I appreciate that protester's candor, even if it was accidental.
I got to tell you, I mean, reading more about this Stephen Hayes case, I remember it. It was national news. I mean, they took pictures of them too, and then it's just the details are just so gory and just Satan, man. And then he gets a sex change operation and finalizes his name change. Why would they give him anything to make him feel better?
Tom in Blue Island.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. I'm of the belief that the United States prematurely took credit for winning the Cold War. I believe the communists played the long game. I believe it's still going on. And Dan, with this USAID thing, I think when you hear people like Jamie Raskin, Ilhan Omar going off, I think it's a tell that once we find out where this money's been coming from, you know, neighborhood people don't want to hear when you say these people are communist, when you say they're trying to destroy the United States. They say, oh, that's just politics. When they want to tell you that your son's a girl or your girl's a son. And these people are openly trying to destroy the United States, and maybe the delineation of where the money's come from and gone with this USAID BS, maybe that's what they're worried about. Maybe that's going to really draw the curtain back. David Horowitz used to say on the Rush Limbaugh show all the time that the green movement was like a watermelon, green on the outside and red on the inside.
Yeah, right.
Well, maybe there's a lot of that in the United States government as well.
Thanks for the call, Tom. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
MyPillow is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 30% on their brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one Mike has worn every day for 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get the 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And the best-selling standard MyPillow, just $14.98. To take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship has sailed because right now every order ships absolutely free. MyPillow.com, promo code LIBERTY.
Raj Shah, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
You know, there are a lot of clients and people coming in from the radio into our office saying, I don't want to lose any money. I need to protect the money I have saved over the last 20 or 30 years, where you have strategies where you can structure an income stream where it has an inflation protection so that as inflation, if it continues to go up, your income will go up.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for our weekly installment of In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just the history we don't know and Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. In 1984, the film The Killing Field, starring Sam Waterston, portrayed the collapse of Cambodia under the psychopathic Pol Pot and his murderous Khmer Rouge regime. But the term killing fields could also be applied to the country Churchill once called a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma, or Mother Russia. After the defeat of Napoleon in 1815, Russia refused to reform and kept its medieval caste system in place. So when the Crimean War erupted in 1853, Russia got clobbered by the new rifle technology of the British and French and was forced to retreat from its ambitions to acquire a warm water port in the decaying Ottoman Empire. Despite emancipation of the serfs and a started industrialization by Tsar Alexander II, when Japan made a surprise attack at Port Arthur 50 years later, Russia was woefully unprepared. The most gruesome aspect of this Russo-Japanese war was the buzzsaw their troops ran into at the Battle of Mukden in 1905, where the heavy use of the machine gun decimated the ill-equipped Russian army. President Teddy Roosevelt negotiated an end to this bloodletting with the Treaty of Portsmouth in 1905 and won a Nobel Prize as a result. President Trump promised to end the Ukraine war quickly and has noted the high casualty rates. All is not quiet on the Eastern Front, as many new weapon systems are being tried out, including drone swarms and hypersonic missiles. Sounds a bit like the Spanish Civil War of 1936 to 39, in which the European powers used it to test out blitzkrieg and armored pincer movements to devastating effect. Maybe someday soon, an aspiring author who serves in Ukraine will write a memoir like George Orwell did, Homage to Catalonia, to warn us off of the dangers that lie ahead.
Very good, as always, Frank. You know, it's interesting. The Battle of Mukden was the name of my They Might Be Giants tribute band in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What'd you kill it with?
We used to get rave reviews for our rendition of Istanbul, Not Constantinople.
Yeah, well, I remember another band I heard called the Transcontinental Railroad, and that was the crazy, nutty idea of the Russians back then to do that entire transportation line with just one line. So that really screwed up the whole war, too. The fact that they couldn't move the troops and the weapons and systems and so forth back and forth, it got all clogged up. And a part of it was across Lake Baikal, too, so they went to Irkutsk, and then they had to take the stuff off the trains and sled them across or ferry them across the lake to get to the other side of the Trans-Siberian Railroad. So Russia, because of its size, has always been a big mess, and it's been a killing field. I mean, so many people there have just died. I mean, I didn't include World War II. Obviously, in World War I, they lost tens of millions in both of those wars. It's truly been the killing fields of world history.
To bring it to present, I'm sure you saw that Zelensky is saying that he only received $75 billion of the 177 that the United States supposedly committed in terms of weaponry and cash and prizes. What about, are you concerned about that? Should we He doesn't know where the other
Do an audit.
100 billion is. So is that an opportunity for a make good by us?
Well, can we afford to keep funding all these wars overseas that don't really seem to serve our interests? And when are they going to hold an election there? Because I know that they've had a war and it's tough to hold an election. But I always tell my kids one of the great things about the United States is we have an election every 4 years, no matter what. We held one in 1864 when we had the Civil War. We held them in 1944, one in 1944. Yeah. We held it during COVID.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like the results of the one that we had during COVID, we still had an election.
Yep.
So it's time for Mr. Zelensky to be approved by his people. And we'll see
Thanks,
if he is.
Thanks, Frank. We appreciate it.
It's 6 a.m. WIND, 7 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
The U.S. punishes China and it retaliates. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The economic sanctions President Trump promised are in place.
A 10% tariff on Chinese imports took effect shortly after midnight. The White House is seeking for Beijing to do more to curb the flow of fentanyl. They call this issue a drug war, not a trade war. So China, for now, has promised countermeasures, including a 10% tariff on crude oil and 15% tariff on coal and liquefied natural gas. This would take effect on the 10th unless a deal is made.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff reports from the White House. The president plans to talk to Chinese leader Xi Jinping soon. He did work out deals with the leaders of Mexico and Canada to delay tariffs on those imports for a month, as they both agreed to do more to secure the northern and southern borders. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt tells Fox.
Those were retaliatory tariffs for the last 4 years of treatment by Canada and Mexico of our nation. They have allowed an unprecedented wave of illegal deadly drugs and illegal criminals.
The U.S. has an ally in the mass deportations of illegal immigrants who commit crimes or are security threats: El Salvador. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says after talks with that country's president,
he has agreed to accept for deportation any illegal alien in the United States who is a criminal from any nationality, be they MS-13 or Tren de Aragua, and house them in his jails.
Rubio says he also offered to allow American convicts to be sent to El Salvador prisons. That would face legal challenges. There's a new member of the Trump cabinet. The Senate confirmed Chris Wright last night to be Energy Secretary. This morning, two more controversial nominees in focus.
The Senate Intelligence Committee will vote on Director of National Intelligence nominee Tulsi Gabbard, while the Senate Finance Committee will vote on Advancing Health and Human Services nominee Robert Kennedy Jr., with just one more Republican compared to Democrats on each committee. Losing just one vote from any committee Republican without help from Democrats would put each nomination in jeopardy.
Ryan Schmelz. America's listening to Fox.
28 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. The Bears are reportedly making moves as soon as today to extend General Manager Ryan Poles, a contract extension that aligns with new head coach Ben Johnson's 5-year contract. The Trump administration opening investigations into allegations of anti-Semitism at 5 major U.S. universities, including Northwestern University. Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling addressing questions about a deadly police shooting over the weekend on the West Side.
It's always unfortunate when there's a loss of life in these situations. We try to handle these situations as delicately as we possibly can. However, sometimes actions are absolutely necessary to protect the lives of the innocent.
Officers responded Sunday. They chased a man on foot and exchanged gunfire at multiple locations. The man was struck and later pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. In a story we told you about yesterday, a Rantoul man is now charged with murder in the deadly shooting of an Elgin teen in Chicago last fall. Deron Wolf was arrested last Friday at his Rantoul home after being identified as one of the attackers in the October 2024 killing of Jesse Kendall. Now, you may recall the 18-year-old was walking with friends to the United Center for a rap concert. When they were confronted by 4 offenders, the attackers robbed them at gunpoint before shooting Kendall to death. The Bulls take on the Heat at the United Center tonight. College hoops, Notre Dame and Florida State tonight, while in the Big Ten, Northwestern will host USC at Welsh Ryan and Loyola hosting St. Bonaventure tonight. The news service of Balance of Nature fruits and veggies in a capsule. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35% as a preferred customer. Hurry, offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This Valentine's Day, you can say, I love you to that special someone.
Just one kiss from your sweet lips will tell.
In the form of $2,000 if you win our Cash for Couples contest.
I love you so much.
Enter today at 560theanswer.com/love. That's 560theanswer.com/love.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
This month and every month, we remember the over 66 million babies whose lives have been senselessly sacrificed on the altar of abortion. Surely, the left doesn't understand the repercussions of a land that takes the blood of the innocent. And that should only motivate us more to save more babies and their moms. Preborn is a network of clinics, and they fight every day to save more babies and more moms. To date, they've rescued over 300,000 babies' lives by introducing a mom to her child on an ultrasound. That baby's chance at life doubles. Preborn showers moms and babies with God's love and assistance for up to 2 years. So when they shout abortion, we shout life. Let's save more babies this year than last. One ultrasound is just $28, and only $140 will help rescue 5 babies. All of the gifts are tax deductible. So donate securely. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or go to preborn.com/Beck. Preborn.com/Beck. Sponsored by Preborn.
Family life is a crazy adventure filled with love and laughter, but it can also be demanding with work schedules, after-school activities, and trying to remember where you put your keys. It leaves you wondering, where does the time go? With so much going on, it can be easy to lose sight of your family's well-being. Balance of Nature fruits and veggies supplements offer an easy way to get a wide variety of whole food ingredients for your whole family. Don't let a busy schedule get in the way of your family's well-being. Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't wait. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Edens, report of an accident. Left lane blocked. It's inbound between Devon and Foster. An earlier accident on the outbound Kennedy between Ohio and North Avenue, still causing big delays on your trip to the big airport this morning. 40 minutes out to O'Hare. Stevenson inbound 1 hour into DuSable Lakeshore Drive, especially heavy. First Avenue to Kedzie. DuSable Lakeshore Drive itself jams up Randolph to Monroe on the southbound side, and there are delays in Harwood Heights this morning. Montrose and Nana report of an accident. Traffic, a service of Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes. Ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Increasing cloudiness. It'll be a cold day. High today 27. Cloudy tonight, low 24. Snow, sleet, and freezing rain tomorrow afternoon. Could pick up about an inch. The high tomorrow at 34. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Partly cloudy and 28. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Those Canadians, they are not treating us right, so saith Trump. I know we've got the 30-day pause. I'm sure you've heard by now. We talked about it a bit earlier in the program. We've got a 30-day pause on the imposition of those tariffs on Canada and Mexico. We've got some concessions from both in terms of better border security. But it doesn't mean that this is over. Far from it. Trump is not pleased with trade deficits. This is his sort of mercantilist disposition, which I'm not a fan of, but it is what it is. And so it may not be over with Canada and Mexico, and it hasn't even started yet with the EU, which he also committed to tariff. Here's Trump on Canada, pre-pause.
But Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough to do business with. And we can't let them take advantage of the U.S. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part. They don't take our cars. They make cars, but they basically don't take our cars. And, you know, we don't need, and look, I think we're going to have another good conversation today. We're actually speaking at 3 o'clock again. But we don't need them to make our cars. We don't need them to give us lumber. We don't need them for agricultural products because we have all the agriculture we need. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part, our milk and dairy, etc. A little bit they do, but not much. We take theirs. And as far as cars are concerned, they took in a big percentage, almost 19% of the market. And, you know, I wouldn't mind making our cars in the United States, so we have a problem there. I'd like to make our cars in the U.S. We don't need Canada to make our cars.
I think J.D. Vance, he was in East Palestine, Ohio yesterday.
Yes.
Just, talked about rebalancing the trade agreements.
Now, the president has also been very clear that we have to rebalance our trade relationship in this country. Every single country, if you look, even our northern neighbors, Canada, do Americans realize that the Canadians charge massive, massive tariffs on our products that go into the country of Canada, including on our great agricultural products that people right here in the state of Ohio depend on? Well, if the Canadians are going to use their economic power to penalize Americans, I think it's totally reasonable for the American president to say, we're done being taken advantage of. We, of course, want to have a great relationship with Canada, but that goes both directions. And that's all his conduct and his activity of the last few days was about. We're done being taken.
Did you see the video of people taking, American booze off the shelves in Canada? Products that they already paid for.
The Boo Birds were out at the Toronto Raptors game yesterday.
8-year-old Kyra Daniel.
Oh my gosh. Let's go to war, Dan.
I'll tell you what, boo me, boo you. We should exile Rick Moranis to Canada as an opener. Robin Thicke. And there's more where that came from. More. We hear another boo of our national anthem. Ryan Reynolds goes next. Everybody out.
No more Mint Mobile. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so on J.D. Vance, though, I got to say, Canada isn't punishing Americans. Canada is punishing Canadians with their protectionist policies. This is sort of a fundamental point that is glossed over by, by people who seem to subscribe to the idea that America can be an autarky. completely self-sufficient. Trade is a good thing. As I've said before, you want to leverage our power, our economic might to reduce trade barriers. Great, I'm all for that. But that's dangerous because it can escalate the other way quickly. Let's get some more perspective on this, particularly from someone who knows the dairy game, the dairy sector, very well, since that has been invoked multiple times in the conversation about these tariffs. Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1 p.m., and the host of the Cow Guy Close, 1 to 1:30 p.m. Chicago time on RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Right, so let's hear it. The markets, they no like trade wars.
No, I mean, you rewind to Friday, the markets felt like there would be some last-minute deal done. They really weren't reacting. The only thing that was reacting on Friday was gold. But then they suddenly did react over the weekend, and they weren't sure that was really going to happen, and it did, obviously. And then, obviously, now we've been whiplashed back and forth. Thank you, sir. I'll have another. Every 10 minutes, the headlines change. So here's where I stand. There are some things that aren't fair. We all know that. I'm not a massive trade deficit person because I think that there's way more that goes into it than just. But if it's not fair, if they're actually taxing our products, I lived in London, right? You try to buy a cigar or some American booze in London, it's tariffed to the hilt. It's so expensive. It's a joke. So it's makes us not competitive. If it's something as basic as that, I'm all for trying to right those wrongs. But I'd probably end there because if it's not fair, I just want it to be fair. I think that's what he's saying. But just because we're not selling enough for our trade deficit's not balanced, that doesn't necessarily automatically mean that they're doing something nefarious.
Well, how is this affecting the stock markets?
Well, I mean, it depends on who you talk to. Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, they all have different points of view. But I think the rosiest point of view is Goldman Sachs. They think it's not going to last that long, and it would only be a maximum of a 5% drawdown on the end-of-year S&P 500 performance. I come from this point of view. It all matters on how long it takes. He's going to be burning through political goodwill capital, and the longer this goes on, the stronger the voices from the left will be. And that's when he starts to really kind of get into the soft meat of the deal. He needs these things to be over quickly because he doesn't want to burn too much goodwill capital up, fighting something for a long period of time. Because look, they've already blamed him in 12 days about high egg prices. Can you imagine in 3 months if we don't have all these things sorted out and the stock markets are still volatile? I will say this. If the country was willing to suffer through the shenanigans, the garbage of the last 4 years, open borders, not safe in your cities, massive spending on the migrants. If you're willing to do that, I would say at least you should be willing to give Donald Trump 90 days to see what he can get done with his ideas and what he got elected to do as far as these unfair trade. I think it's really, really bad to want to throw the baby out with the bathwater in the first 2 weeks when we had to suffer through 4 years of it before. Give the guy a chance.
Well, that's my posture. I'm giving him a chance to see if his use of tariffs results in a reduction in trade barriers on both sides. But the problem, it seems to me, is that Trump is has such tunnel vision with respect to trade deficits and self-sufficiency that, he just doesn't sort of get the basics here. If I can invoke Adam Smith, the tailor doesn't attempt to make his own shoes, but buys them at the shoemaker. The shoemaker doesn't attempt to make his own clothes, but employs a tailor. Doesn't seem to get that concept. As long as the tailor and the shoemaker are both Americans buying from Americans, it's fine. If they're an American buying from a European, it's not. That's not good economic policy if that's where we end.
Yeah. I understand that. And I think he's a fairly bombastic person, but I do believe he's got some strong voices in the room. I think Scott Bessent's a strong voice. I'm not a massive fan of the trade guy. What's his name from Cantor Fitzgerald? But I think he's got some smart people in there that can at least slow his roll a little bit. I totally agree with you on the fact that trade is good, and we're not going to be able to be 100% self-sufficient. But I do believe also that things haven't been fair.
Yeah, but fairness is. What is the limiting principle on what you demand in terms of to make things more fair? Because they're never. It'd be difficult to see 1-to-1 unless everybody decides to be Frederick Bastiat tomorrow, which I doubt. So we're not going to have true free trade. So what does fair look like? Fair looks like some version of some provisions in the USMCA or some recasting of that, for example. What do you demand when you say fairness with respect to tariffs in the dairy industry, for example, or the auto industry, since Trump is particularly focused in those sectors, at least when he's discussing Canada?
He's not going to tell us because that's his that's leverage. I said it on my show all the time.
I'm talking about you. You're saying fairness. I want things to be fair. Well, what does that mean?
I don't want any. I don't want any unfair taxes levied on U.S. products going into other countries. I don't think that's good. I'm against that. We should be able to compete with our products, not with taxes.
So then you're for going eye for an eye when it comes to tariffs.
Well, look, to some extent I am, Dan, but when we have $500 billion, and sometimes maybe the estimates could go up to $1 trillion worth of our intellectual property rights being taken by China every year, do we want to make sure that we keep the status quo and don't upset the markets, and so they can continue to do that, or do we somehow say no, this is going to end, and then we got to end it this way, and it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the short term?
Well, stealing our IP is sort of a different case. I'm talking about countries that are erstwhile allies who may have stupid policies, but doesn't mean that we should replicate them, and are otherwise not, serially stealing our IP the way the Chinese Communist Party is. That's sort of a different case.
Well, so there's gradients, I guess. But yes, I am for free trade. I'm when it comes to our products over borders, they should fight equally on their own like we do here. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. And the impact you think imposing, let's say he didn't disclose it, but let's say he does something like he did and is threatening to do, 25% across the board on all products from the European Union.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm on board with that altogether. It's not that easy to have those blanket statements. That's hard. That's harder for me to accept. If you have, great examples of when they're not taking our cars or not taking our booze or not taking our products, I would be doing that, not the whole thing. But he's going to do that because he's got our American economy behind him. It's more nuanced than he's doing. But I'm not quite sure you can legislate to the lowest common denominator either. You know what I mean? You could go crazy trying to do carve-outs. Sometimes you just have to do, this is what it's going to be. That's my word is the word.
Well, right. These Byzantine tariff regimes like Canada has, you've got quotas, and then the tariffs graduate as you get above the quota. But that's terrible policy that hurts Canadians. It's not something that we should mimic. That's my point, and that seems to be a point that's lost. Yeah.
Well, what about
not
China?
Others.
China hit back with Trump's tariffs as they went into effect with similar measures. Is that going to affect anything?
Coming, like you said, from an agricultural background, I think that, the last time around, 2017, 2018, agriculture was in the forefront. Brazil had a bad growing year. China needed our beans. They needed our food. But this time around, I really think that it's going to be minerals, industry, and technology. I don't think it's going to be massively in the our ag sector. So I think the people that really should be on top of things here are going to be in our high-tech sector, our automotive sector, our mineral sector. Those are the type of people that are going to have to try to manage this. And then depending on how much they sell into China, I don't know. I'm not in that world, but that's what they're going to have to deal with, like we had to deal with it with soybeans last time around. And, Trump leveled up. He wrote all the soybean farmers a check at the end. They ended up doing okay, but there was a heck of a lot of PTSD along the way.
The interest rates, Powell kept them steady. Trump, who wants them cut, was okay with keeping them steady at present. Understanding, I assume, that there should be some concern about price increases, particularly in combination with the prospect of tariffs for any extended period of time. Your view on the Fed and Powell's decision?
I don't think they should have moved on rates. I mean, I don't think these rates are too high. I think that if you can't make money at these levels, you need to go back to business school and start over. I just saw a chart just literally before we came on about what the mortgage rates were going back to 1970. I mean, and when I bought my first place, they were double digits. You have, and the only problem is the asset prices have got away from us. I think when it comes to interest rates in the country here, I mean, what are we looking at? I mean, remember how ridiculous it got when we were thinking about going to a negative interest rate? I mean, these rates aren't crazy high, and I don't know how much you want to push them to the downside either, because I think that ultimately inflation is not going to be. You know what? He's going to have a harder time with inflation than he is with these tariffs. I'm telling you right now, this inflation I don't think is going to go away. And if he wants to lower rates, it's going to make it harder. He wants to lower rates, that's going to think people are going to think, oh, I can buy a house. Well, that means there's a lot more people that can buy a house, so those house prices go up again. We're already short of houses. I just don't see an easy way out inflation-wise, and he's going to be burning into some more goodwill capital that way. That inflation issue, I think, is going to be the bigger issue than tariffs ultimately down the road.
Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, market specialist for Market Day Report. That's 10:30 to 1 p.m. And host of the Cow Guy Close. That's 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, thanks as always.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a great day. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. And right now, you're going to pay for groceries. But you decide what groceries. Just keep in mind you're running out of dishwashing soap. But you decide if you're going to buy that soap. Just those dishes won't clean themselves, will they? Remember, with Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Guys, if you just don't have that youthful energy like you used to, it could be low T. Have you thought of getting your testosterone levels checked? Don't put it off. Get tested. If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, gaining weight, or noticing a loss of muscle mass or low libido, these could all be signs of low testosterone. So don't wait. Find out. At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple test, and with their on-site lab, you get your results back right there. Low T Center is not a typical doctor's office. Their physicians specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, for each patient. Their personal treatment plans are optimized for each patient. These aren't just basic standard treatments. For current patients, Low T Center offers you a $150 referral credit for each new patient you refer. And at Low T Center, you can also get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medications. So get back to your best. Visit lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Prof sent you when you do. Lotte Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
All right, I'm pretty active, lead an active lifestyle, go to the gym about 5, 6, probably 7 times a week or do something. But I have a very dear friend who can't keep up because she has chronic pain in her shoulder due to an injury. And I keep telling her, and she's going to be going to QC Kinetics because she doesn't want to have surgery. She doesn't want to take time off of work. She doesn't want to get put on drugs or any of that. She wants to do it right. And that's regenerative medicine from our good friends at QC Kinetics. They offer groundbreaking treatments for people who have pain in their hips, knees, shoulders, back, joints because of arthritis or due to an injury. Folks, we're talking long-term relief. QC Kinetics regenerative treatments are sweeping the nation, and they're right here in Chicago under the guidance of medical director Dr. Ashley Caravelli. Now, thousands of patients would tell you, don't wait. Call today. These new orthobiological cellular therapies, including PRP treatments, can revitalize your joints without going under the knife and literally change your life. QC Kinetics treatments prompt your body to heal and restore damaged joints. There's no downtime. Joint pain does not get better with time, folks. So before it's absolutely debilitating, see if you're a candidate for these life-changing treatments. Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation. Tell them Amy Jacobson sent you. Saturday appointments available. They'll explain the whole process, walk you through it. The number to call to make your appointment for your free consultation. Tell them Amy Jacobson sent you. The number to call, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm 76. I had been retired for about 10 years, and at 68, I decided to go back to work. Our company had a contest, and it was a walking, steps. I ended up, by the time in the end of the 6 weeks, I was doing like 17,000 steps a day. So after the contest, I came in third. I kept hearing about Balance of Nature, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. So I did.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set. Don't wait. Now's the time to take action. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
737, our weekly installment with Ted Dabrowski, all things Illinois policy related, including the review of the national K-12 government school report cards.
Yeah.
Great news for Illinois, we're told by the Chicago Tribune, Governor Jay Belly. But is it great news? Ted Dabrowski at wirepoints.org, 737.
But first, let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
7:32 this morning, 26 degrees. El Salvador says it will house violent U.S. criminals and take in deportees of any nationality. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announcing the deal after meeting with El Salvador's president yesterday.
He has offered to house in his jails dangerous American criminals.
El Salvador will not only take in Salvadorians who entered the U.S. illegally, but also any criminal illegal migrant of any nationality. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will meet with President Trump at the White House today. Netanyahu in D.C. as negotiations are expected to pick up between Israel and the Palestinian terror group Hamas to extend the ongoing ceasefire. However, today at least 6 were injured in a shooting at an Israeli-occupied West Bank checkpoint. 2 of them are soldiers critically hurt. China slapping tariffs on some U.S. products. All retaliation for tariffs, they say, that President Trump enacted on things like coal and liquefied natural gas. Vice President J.D. Vance in East Palestine, Ohio, says the tariffs are necessary.
The Mexican government was so afraid of the tariffs that they actually are taking their border enforcement and their anti-cartel activity more seriously.
This morning, crews continue removing the fuselage from the Potomac River near the nation's capital following last week's mid-air collision. California's largest home insurer, State Farm, is asking state officials there for an emergency rate hike that averages 22% or more. The Bears are reportedly making moves to extend GM Ryan Poles with a contract extension that mirrors head coach Ben Johnson's 5-year contract. The Trump administration opening new investigations into allegations of anti-Semitism at 5 U.S. universities, including Northwestern University. The nation's report card that measures how well kids across the country are learning has just been released. The results for Illinois are not good, according to WirePoint's president, Ted Dabrowski.
It's a bad thing to compare to the national average when the national average has been collapsing and some of the worst scores in a long time. So that's not the right metric. The right metric is to look and see how many kids are reading, and that points at a disaster for Illinois.
Dabrowski will join Dan and Amy in just a few minutes to talk more about 8th grade students outperforming national averages in both reading and math, but it's not the metric that many are looking to compare. 2 people are dead following a rollover crash on I-57 in Chicago. The accident happened yesterday on northbound I-57 near 147th. Chicago sports. Stumbling Bulls will try to get back in the win column when they host Miami. Big Ten hoops tonight. Northwestern will host USC. The news is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% on average to get your smile back. Learn more. Check if you qualify. AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On March 4th, President Trump will make his first address to a joint session of Congress of his new presidency.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a watch party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/watch. That's 560theanswer.com/watch.
It's Reveille. This week's announcement by the Trump administration on education reform couldn't come at a better time. The National Assessment on Education Progress is the nation's report card. It assesses children across the country on math and reading skills, and they just released their 2024 report. Nationwide, the scores are frightening. Even liberal billionaire Michael Bloomberg was so disturbed by the report that he wrote an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal and called the scores a disaster for our country, noting 1/3 of 8th grade students in the United States are reading at below basic level, and 40% of the 4th graders are below basic level. For those concerned about equity, he wrote, the divide between high-performing and low-performing students widened. Across the board, national scores are still lower than pre-COVID. Illinois is not much different. Scores are lower or the same than before the pandemic. This is despite a 24% increase in spending. Governor Pritzker chose to tell only part of the story and put out a press release applauding that Illinois 8th graders performed better than the national average. He failed to mention that 4th graders did not. Pritzker also didn't mention that Illinois is one of the top states for educational spending, and according to WirePoints, Illinois spent $22,000 per student in 2024. By comparison, South Dakota children have significantly better scores than Illinois on 3 out of 4 areas graded by NAEP, and they spend about half the amount per student. So Trump's policies that would end woke indoctrination in public school, mandate the use of a patriotic 1776 curriculum, and most importantly, direct federal grants be used for educational choice programs couldn't come at a better time. Schools need to be designed around meeting the needs of students and parents, not teacher unions. Inviting competition into the system is the best way to achieve better outcomes for everyone. I'm Jeannie Ives. Check out The Real Story with me Sunday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Are you an administrator, staff member, or parent volunteer at a private school? Would you like to grow your current enrollment and welcome new families to your school? If so, we want to tell you about a great opportunity to help increase enrollment and promote your school to families all across Chicagoland. It's called ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. They work to connect private schools with new families who are looking for discounted first-year tuition. In exchange, your school will receive a marketing campaign to help grow your enrollment. Chicagoland School Vouchers does all the work to bring new families together with your school and help you expand your reach. They've been working with schools across Chicagoland for over a decade. As the demand for school choice grows here in Illinois, your private school needs to take advantage of this program. To learn more, just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We're at 55 minutes on the Kennedy now. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike at 1 hour, 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, 1 hour, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. 30 minutes in on the Ryan, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. I-80, Will County, accident right shoulder on I-80 westbound, just after I-55. Traffic, a service of the Low T Center. Look for personalized treatment like you'll get with the TRT experts at Low T Center. Low T Center brings over a decade of experience, so go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds on the increase throughout the day. A little colder, high 27. Low clouds 24 overnight. An icy mix begins in the morning. Later in the day, we could see up to an inch of snow in spots and a high of 34. 26 right now at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. And finally, we have some good news to talk about with Ted when it comes to Illinois. Great news, in fact. The Tribune is touting it. Governor Jay Belly is touting it. And here's the good news. Let me just give you the top line.
Please.
According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP, that administers reading and math testing for grades 4 and 8 at government schools across the country, in reading, a full 30% of fourth graders in Illinois are proficient. A full 29% of eighth graders are proficient. In math, a full 39% of fourth graders are proficient in math, and a full 27% of eighth graders are proficient in math. Hooray!
Yay! Woohoo!
That's what Pritzker said, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. He was celebrating a teacher in Effingham whose students are doing really well.
I wanted to call to congratulate you.
your 8th graders and frankly all the 8th graders across the state of Illinois, but especially at Effingham Junior High, did an amazing job outperforming the rest of the country on math and science NAEP scores, and I just wanted to thank you for the hard work you put in and they put in to succeed for the state of Illinois.
Well, thank you.
You're crushing it.
What was that? The crypt keeper from Tales from the Crypt that he was talking to?
He was talking to the teacher. He did a phone call into her class, and all the kiddies were sitting there in their seats, and she was overwhelmed. But
Effingham.
I mean, she's a good teacher. Good for her, and we all appreciate good teachers. But
sure,
on the whole, we're not really killing it, as he said, or crushing it.
What do you mean? We absolutely are. The Tribune said it.
Oh.
He said the scores are a testament to the great strides Illinois students are making academically. I mean, I just told you the numbers. 4th grade, 39%. 8th grade, 27% are proficient in math. That means only 61% and 73%, respectively, in grades 4 and 8 are not proficient. Yay! Right, Ted?
Yeah, exactly. And let's take it further because, there's that's an average, right? So when you break it down and start looking at the minorities, and, you take Chicago Public Schools, it is 90% minority. There are hardly any, white kids left there anymore. So across the state, 8th grade math, black scores, just 9% are proficient. 91% are not proficient.
Well, that's why he called Effingham. He doesn't care about. He just cares about the honkies. Yeah.
18% of Hispanics are proficient in math. So it's fascinating how the results. This is the results nationally. And the Wall Street Journal hit really hard on the national results. Especially reading results down. Getting close to 30-year lows. This is a disaster nationally. It's a disaster for our country, what's going on. And so, what they did, and, they're smart. Pritzker, I tell you, he's amazing. He's really good. He stays on his message. He calls these schools, tells them how great they are. And, the Tribune just parrots exactly. The Tribune parroted exactly what Pritzker said. They didn't do any thinking. They didn't open up any of the files. They didn't look at the numbers. And the bad numbers just stare at me like a sore thumb. These kids can't read, they can't do math, and yet they go on this marketing campaign to say how great they are. And this is the bad part of how it works.
Yeah, but we just need to read more good than our neighbors. That's all. That's the standard, right?
Well, good. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, if we're just a couple percentage points better, that means we are rocking it. We're doing great.
Well, the 70%, who can't read at grade level. I mean, there's always state employment. Now that he banned Jan 6ers from state employment, there are plenty of jobs in state employment. They're advertising for them, and then you can just watch it. You don't have to read the advertisement, thankfully.
Yeah. You don't need to read your application or write anything about it. I'll tell you the other big worrisome thing, and it's coming. We've all talked about it. Is when you look at these results, we've typically spoke about how many kids are proficient. Now they've got this other measure they've had for a long time, which is called basic. And basic means you're partially moving towards proficiency.
Okay.
And now they're starting to use the basic numbers. Now, how many kids are basic? And we looked at the old, like the 2011 and 2013 results of NAEP. They only talked about proficient. Now they're starting to talk about basic because they have to find another metric to use to hide behind how bad things are. So watch out for that.
And do we have an idea what the basic number is, that you're somewhere in the ballpark of proficient someday?
Well, you don't even know. Yeah, they're of course much higher. I forget what their numbers are, 60%, something like that. So,
well, good. So then it's only 40% who are completely illiterate. That's great.
Hey, listen, right? I mean, this is the other important point.
Well, sorry, make your important point because I have one then too.
We're all ticked off about property taxes. Well, then you start looking at how much we pay for our failure relative to other states, and we're paying a lot more. We're paying $6,000 and $7,000 more than Indiana per student. Wow. But that's all property taxes.
But we're doing better figuring than Indiana according to the test results. So
speak of the language.
I mean, what's a few $1,000s more per pupil per year, right? When you're topping out at 30% who can do math at grade level.
Yeah, so that's the big issue. People are so squeezed, and so that's where we need to really hammer on this. It's how much we spend for the failure too.
Well, wait a second, but we don't fully fund our schools. I hear that all the time from the teachers and teachers unions and politicians that are wholly owned subsidiaries of the teachers union. If we fully funded our schools, Ted, maybe we could do something about those 70% that don't read so good.
Yeah, well, I love that part too. Fully fund, that's a moving target. Always will be a moving target, and we'll never fully fund it because we're talking about teachers unions that want more and more and more, and of course the administrators who benefit from that as well.
How much of this can be attributed to COVID and the lockdowns?
Oh,
so I kept hearing we're spreading misinformation about the efficiency of lockdowns, and now look at what has happened.
Well, I love this because that's what everybody tries to do, and I remember when we were testifying in Springfield, they tried to do that stuff, but the reality is that our scores before COVID were about the same as they are now. So we had the failures before. Now, a big report that we did back a couple of years ago was using all the scores before COVID, and that's for Decatur. The third graders were reading at 2%. Same thing for Rockford and Peoria. It was all the same before COVID. They're just conveniently using COVID as the excuse.
BLM Brandon unveiled his legislative priorities this session. They include a hemp tax, a watered-down Anjanette Young ordinance to further hamstring police, and more affordable housing units through a green social housing loan fund. It's prodigious.
Well, he's got some excellent ideas to improve Chicago, as we've seen. His new latest poll numbers show 14%. He's totally lost it. I think we're just waiting around to see who's going to pop up and who wants to run, and who might have a shot at doing something a little different. But I think his time, his ability to influence anything positive, I think is just absolutely gone.
What about his gift closet? And now that they've discovered that he was hiding gifts behind the doors, do you think anything will happen with that?
Frankly, I don't know. I mean, I read a little bit about that, but just par for the course. If Madigan and others can't go to jail for what they do, then what's a few gifts?
Yeah, well, exactly. Not to mention, I mean, when our mayor appears before that House Oversight Committee to defend sanctuary cities, speak truth to power, he's got to be decked out in those Hugo Boss cufflinks who want him to look good, representing the city like Triple Threat was. He is the face of Chicago, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he is. I mean, he says he is, and it's going to be fascinating if he does go. I mean, I don't see how he doesn't go, and how he tries to defend it. But I think it's sadly it's good. The more he talks, the more he exposes where he stands on things. The better it is for us to finally get some change at in Chicago. But it can't come fast enough.
We need to jack property taxes, particularly on commercial property owners. You know why? Because we've got some properties that are selling for a fraction of what they sold for a decade ago. For example, 70 West Madison sold this month for $85 million. In 2014, the sellers paid $375 million.
Oh.
So then they're going to get unless you just keep the property tax assessments at the 375 valuation, so $375 million valuation, pay no attention to the fact it sold for $85 million. Let's see, the Skidmore, Owings and Merrill Tower, that sold for $85 million. The Tribune saying that the Board of Review presumably will take that sale into account when it considers the likely appeal later this year. But why should they? We need the money.
Yeah, that whole article is fascinating for me. For those who haven't read it, it's in the Tribune, just talking about about the collapse of all those values in Chicago. And I don't know if they're representative of what's happening in the whole city, but if it's true, it's scary, right? Like you mentioned, $85 million for a place that sold for $375 just a few years ago. There's another one.
A Groupon at 600 West Chicago, the old Groupon headquarters, 1.6 million square feet, running along the North Branch. Sold for $89 million 8 years ago. Sterling Bay paid $510 for it.
Oh my gosh!
No,
yeah, I mean these are collapses.
But Chicago is a vibrant city. I mean, I know this from BLM and from Jay Belly. Chicago's a vibrant city. We're attracting businesses. It's great. 311 South Wacker sold for the one with the illuminated crown on top. Sold around $70 million. The owners paid $302 million for it in 2014.
These are monumental losses.
Not a big deal. No big deal.
And that's what these guys like Johnson, well, of course they don't get or they do get. Who cares what they actually get? But this is what's happening. And, there's two implications of this. One, if those values stay down there and collapse like they have, then their property taxes are going to go down. But it's all going to be shifted over to the residential people. And so, you're talking about all the increases they've had over the past few years, plus this kind of stuff. That's one. And of course, the impact of the downtown, you've got Groupon went from using 300,000 square feet down to 25,000 square feet. So, these companies don't need all that property. Now, what's interesting, though, is that the Tribune article, again, this is another problem with the Tribune, they're right to talk about this issue and who's going to bear the taxes. But what they missed out on the whole point is the problem is how big the spending is, right? Not just the fact that this is a shift between commercial and residential, but you got to take on the unions. The Tribune should be taking on the union costs.
No. They've got a solution for it. I just told you. I mean, come on, listen up. Green Social Housing Loan Fund. You convert those commercial spaces, just like we're going to convert the financial district, to government housing.
Damn, I missed that. Okay, I got you now. It's all
Green
good now.
Social Housing Loan Fund. Hello, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going. It's going well. It's going well. Ralph Martiri, Center for Tax and Budget Accountability, says, we got it. The only thing we need, like BLM Brandon was saying, like the Tribune is ignoring, we need major revenue initiatives. So, a tax on hemp, that's great. But, maybe we need to go back to Pritzker's idea of graduating the state income tax. Oh, remember, that was his idea. Maybe we need a city income tax. Maybe we need both. I think BLM Brandon also wants to jack up corporate taxes in Chicago, too. So, that'll help, right?
Yeah, all that, you're hearing news of United Airlines possibly moving. We heard of it back in the past. That would be, again, all those things are chasing out the very companies and then bringing down the commercial values further down. And this is a spiral we're in. We better hurry up and do something about the mess, or we're gonna keep spiraling. And this is the risk we have.
Ted Dabrowski, President of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Ted.
Have a great day.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm 76. I had been retired for about 10 years, and at 68, I decided to go back to work. Our company had a contest, and it was a walking, steps. I ended up, by the time in the end of the 6 weeks, I was doing like 17,000 steps a day. So after the contest, I came in third. I kept hearing about Balance of Nature, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. So I did.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set. Don't wait. Now's the time to take action. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Ad paid for by Anthem Tax Services. Attention, if you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. The IRS does not joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. If you're tired of the IRS letters, levies, liens, or wage garnishments and would like to get a fresh start, we can help. Due to the financial hardships in the country, the IRS is making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $10,000. We can help settle your delinquent tax problems, end all collections, and may even reduce your back taxes significantly. Even if you can't afford to pay your back taxes, you can still get the help you need. We've helped thousands of taxpayers just like you, but you must call 800-216-0307 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. The information is free and the help is real. Call 800-216-0307. That's 800-216-0307. Again, 800-216-0307.
Hey, Carl Jackson here for Dennis Prager. While Dennis Prager is recuperating, we know you miss your daily dose of Dennis. That's why Pragertopia is giving you a special gift. Right now, Pragertopia members can hear the best 2 hours of Dennis's favorite segments from as far back as 2010. On Monday, you can hear the Happiness Hour.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what I'm about.
Tuesday is Celebrity Guest Day.
Donald Trump Jr. is in studio with me.
On Wednesday, it's the Male-Female Hour.
I really do wish there were a way to ascertain the number of marriages that this hour has helped.
Thursday, the Ultimate Issues Hour.
Not having ultimate issues clarity is like having a map, but you don't know where you're going.
And Friday is Open Lines.
Feel free to ask me anything about me, about you, about life.
So if you're missing your daily dose of Dennis, go to Pragertopia.com and hear all your favorite segments along with lectures, celebrity interviews, and his famous Torah teachings and more. Get your daily dose of Dennis at Pragertopia.com, Pragertopia.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
A friend of mine in the manufacturing sector just told me, I just bought a building in Chicago Heights that was valued at $7 million, industrial building.
Yeah, how much?
Valued at $7 million. I bought it for $875,000.
Oh,
that sounds great, except in 10 years, he'll be able to sell it for $8.75.
Don't tell him that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Today we're going to have increasing cloudiness, colder, a high of 27 degrees. It is now 8 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
Canada and Mexico avoided tariffs. China did not. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. After midnight, President Trump imposed additional 10% tariffs on Chinese imports, citing the flow of the deadly drug fentanyl into the U.S. Republican Congressman Mark Begich tells Fox.
What Donald Trump is doing is standing up for America and Americans, and he's putting the people of America first.
China's retaliating with 15% tariffs on American coal and liquefied natural gas, 10% on crude oil, farm equipment, and some U.S. vehicles to take effect Monday. But the president did work out a deal to delay tariffs on Canada and Mexico.
By sending 10,000 Mexican troops to the U.S. border, Mexico's president delayed tariffs by a month. Canada's prime minister says they're implementing our $1.3 billion border plan, sending nearly 10,000 frontline personnel to the northern border, appointing a fentanyl czar, and so proposed tariffs will be paused for at least 30 days.
Fox's Peter Ducey. El Salvador is going to help the U.S. with mass deportations of illegal immigrants. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, after holding talks there, says El Salvador's president agreed to accept any migrants from any country, and
he has offered to house in his jails dangerous American criminals.
That would face legal challenges. President Trump will meet later today with Israel's prime minister, talking about extending the ceasefire in Gaza, but Israel's still battling Palestinian militants in the West Bank.
A man opened fire on Israeli troops at a checkpoint near Taysir in the Jordan Valley. His initial target was a soldier coming out of a fortified bunker. 2 Israeli soldiers died and 8 were wounded. The attacker was also shot dead.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. The morning after the Senate confirmed Chris Wright to be Energy Secretary, 2 committees will consider Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to lead Health and Human Services.
Committee votes like these are a litmus test. They gauge support for a nominee, but they are not the final say on the floor.
So Fox's Chad Pergram at the Capitol says even if a Republican or 2 blocks committee approval, Gabbard and Kennedy could still be confirmed by the full Senate. America's listening to Fox News.
8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. We have sunshine and 26 degrees. The Trump administration is opening up new investigations into allegations of anti-Semitism at 5 U.S. universities, including now Northwestern University. In a story we told you about yesterday, a Rantoul man is now charged with murder in the deadly shooting of an Elgin teen in Chicago last fall. Authorities say Duron Wolf was arrested at his Rantoul home after he was identified as one of the attackers in October 2024 in the killing of Jesse Kendall. The 18-year-old was walking with friends to a concert at the United Center when they were confronted by 4 offenders. The attackers robbed them at gunpoint before shooting Kendall to death. One man is dead following a shooting and stabbing on the west side. Police say the victim was found last night in a home in the 800 block of North Christina. Dozens of employees at the Chicago office of the Environmental Protection Agency could soon be out of a job. Sun-Times reports an email was sent out last week by President Trump's administration warning the workers that they could be fired, mostly staffers who've not worked long enough to secure job protection benefits. The Bulls take on the Heat tonight. College hoops, Notre Dame takes on Florida State. In the Big Ten, Northwestern will host USC. The news, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago at balanceofnature.com. 8:03. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
China is striking back against the 10% tariffs from the U.S. that went into effect this morning. China has imposed tariffs on some U.S. goods effective February 10th. It's investigating Google for antitrust allegations, and it's restricting exports of some key minerals. Earnings are coming in this morning. Pfizer reporting an upbeat quarter. PepsiCo's earnings top forecast, but its revenue was disappointing. Pepsi's seeing weaker sales of soft drinks and snacks. Estee Lauder is planning layoffs. The beauty giant lost money in the recent quarter after its Asia business declined. Estee Lauder says it will cut 5,800 to 7,000 jobs. Shares of software company Palantir are up more than 20% after its very strong earnings. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Larry Elder explains what we're really facing.
Chaos. 12 to 14 million illegal aliens in this country intentionally in the last 4 years. Not vetted. Several on the terror watch list. Those are the ones that got caught. In this business of dreamers, the whole concept of DACA is illegal, in my opinion. They're illegal aliens.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Durkin, founding partner of the Martech Group, a global market research firm based in Chicago since 1985 and a longtime customer of Signature Bank. When our business moved to our current Loop location, I recall seeing Mick O'Rourke and his 2 business partners, Brian Duncan and Kevin Vestuga, laying the foundation for Signature Bank. When Signature opened its doors in 2006, I was proud to move our accounts there and become a shareholder. Being in the consulting business, the Martech Group has a keen understanding of the value of relationships, trust, and attentiveness. Whether dealing with our U.S. practice or our international operations, Signature Bank is always there when we need them. That's why the Martech Group is proud to have Signature Bank as a valued business partner.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Wow. Are you buying or are you selling? As this is being written, silver is up more than 50% in just the past 8 months. And gold is the highest it's ever been. Whether you are just getting into the metals, want to roll your IRA into silver or gold, or want to take some profits off the table, Fox Valley Coins is ready, willing, and able to help. Even though Fox Valley Coins is a national dealer, they're family-owned and in your own backyard. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville almost always has the product you want in stock and pretty much always has the best pricing when you buy or sell. Buying or selling is easy. Bring your items in. We'll establish the price and pay you cash or check on the spot. Why wait to move your assets around? Did you know that Fox Valley Coins has sold over 3,000 1-ounce silver Donald Trump coins? We have several designs, but they're going fast. Fox Valley Coins on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
This Valentine's season, the Ministry of Preborn invites you to become a heartbeat hero and share the love that goes beyond a box of chocolates, a love that saves lives. Every day, thousands of women are told the lie that abortion is their only option. They can't do it, that there is no hope. But that mother in crisis, when she sees her baby on an ultrasound at a preborn network clinic, it doubles her chances at choosing life. This isn't just an image on a screen. It's about a mom hearing the baby's heartbeat, maybe for the first time, and realizing that's a gift growing inside of her. One preborn supporter said, "Knowing my gift could save a life was the most meaningful act of love I could give." For $28, you can provide an ultrasound and help a mom in crisis choose life. $140 provides 5 ultrasounds. So this Valentine's season, take a stand, be bold, become a heartbeat hero. Dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/Beck. That's preborn.com/Beck.
It is 8:08, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Winfield Road and Roosevelt Road, an accident. And delays in Elmhurst, North Avenue, and Maple report of an accident. Oak Brook, accident, Route 83 and Oak Brook Road. I-94, a right lane in northwest Indiana blocked with debris westbound right before the Indiana Toll Road. Veterans Memorial Toll, you have an accident on the left shoulder on I-355 northbound just after Roosevelt. Traffic, a service of Valdecast Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high quality and professional level window replacement service. Contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum, Elite, Pella certified contractor, Valdecast.com. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds will be increasing for us today. Colder afternoon, high 27. Cloudy tonight, low 24. Snow, sleet, and freezing rain tomorrow afternoon. We could see about an inch. The high tomorrow afternoon, 34. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Partly cloudy and 30 at O'Hare. Your next news update, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, as long as NBC continues to prop up MSNBC. Failed Chicago politicians will always have a home. Tiny Dancer, you remember him.
He's back because his ambassadorship to Japan has expired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So now
I'm sure.
he's hanging around press conferences, and I don't know why. It's so weird.
I'm sure that went about as well for the Japanese as The Ring did. Tiny Dancer on Morning Joe to... provide his great executive insight. Such a talented, accomplished executive, sure, on FBI and the reports out about FBI agents who are being put out to pasture, those who were involved in some of the most noxious activities, including J6 investigations. Inquisitions, probably a better phrase. Tiny Dancer has a warning and a phony parallel to Bibi in Israel.
Question, because we actually have a test case of this. Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu will be in the Oval Office tomorrow, and he tried exactly this strategy of going after the Justice Department in Israel, going after the Shin Bet, the FBI equivalent, and it ended up with October 7th, the worst killing of Jews since the Holocaust in World War II. And we know how this plays out. Now, the FBI you can have a campaign of internal vengeance or external vigilance. And like in Israel, the Prime Minister was warned that our enemies, or the enemies of Israel, were going to actually take advantage of Israel being off guard and off its game. And that's exactly what happened. And so here, in this situation, As you just saw, China, major telecom cyber attack in the United States. Iran's doing the same thing on cyber attacks. North Korea, Russia, all of that effort. Our adversaries are not letting their guard down, waiting for the United States to get together.
Campaign of internal vengeance or external vigilance. He must have read that on a fortune cookie. Because what is internally vengeant about accountability? Oh, you think the FBI had its eye on the prize? Were they being externally vigilant when they were pursuing Catholics attending the Latin Mass, when they were rousting parents at school board meetings who dared to criticize DEI curriculum, trans policies, and so forth?
And COVID policies, too.
Were they being externally vigilant when Chris Wray and the senior leadership was less than forthright with the American people about their presence and involvement on January 6th? Were they being externally vigilant when they were participating in these sham investigations to set up prosecutions of Trump, the classified docs case, Russiagate? I could go on. So there's no cleanup that's required at the FBI, and any accountability is going to be cast as an internal vengeance campaign. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what they're selling. Thankfully, I don't think there are going to be any buyers in the Trump administration, starting with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. For more on this and other matters, Ben Weingarten joins us, editor-at-large for RealClearInvestigations.com, also senior contributor to The Federalist. His Substack, Weingarten.substack.com, Weingarten.substack.com. Ben, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
The binary, it's either internal vengeance or external vigilance. So just never you mind who's doing what in the FBI. Just say we're focused on, external threats to a national security and public safety, and then all is right.
The irony of this, by the way, is that there was a massive opportunity cost to the FBI and the DOJ being weaponized against the American people, treating dissenters from ruling class orthodoxy, whether, as you chronicled, practicing Catholics or concerned parents or pro-lifers protesting accordingly, or even FBI agents who dared to raise some of the issues with the own internal policies within the FBI. There was a massive opportunity cost to the targeting of dissenting Americans, which was, first of all, obviously, the damage done to our Constitution, and, of course, as the brass care about there, the FBI's credibility as an institution, but then also the fact that all manner of threats festered while they were targeting, in the biggest dragnet in U.S. history, grandmas who walked into the Capitol on January 6th, in part. So he actually has it backwards. We've actually had a scenario where we've had the FBI with its eye off the ball and all manner of threats festering. And now what the Trump administration is trying to do is provide, to your point, transparency and accountability so that the FBI goes back to doing what it's supposed to do, which is actually pursuing the bad guys, and the DOJ bringing them to justice to defend the rights of all Americans. You can't have a rule of law, and ultimately you can't have a republic in any true sense if you have a police state instead of police that actually exist to protect and defend our rights. So I think, to your point, this simply isn't going to wash with the American people. The American people want there to be restitution for those who were wronged by a weaponized deep state, and then ultimately the purging of the bad apples and the correcting of the policies so that it actually goes back to defending and protecting liberty and justice.
Something else that occurred under the previous regime that spanned the political spectrum in terms of opposition. It brought in people like Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger to the freedom-oriented conservative club. I mean, not that they call themselves conservatives, but we were aligned on this issue, and that's the censorship industrial complex. You wrote a piece about it for Real Clear Investigations I want to get to, but I mean, just adding in a conversation we began earlier in the program about USAID, USAID, and the very interesting reaction, the most virulent demagogues of the left out in force about USAID. And I don't think it's about trans operas in Colombia or DEI musicals in Ireland. It's more about things like this. Nina Jankowicz, you may remember that name. I know you do, but our listeners may remember that name. She was the person that Ali Mayorkas tapped to be the head of the Disinformation Governance Board, the Orwellian Disinformation Governance Board that was to be housed in DHS before people got wind of it, and there was a revolt, and they had to scrap the idea of that sort of censorship entity within the Department of Homeland Security. Well, guess what? She now is over in the UK, and she's part of something called the Center for Information Resilience, equally Orwellian. And she's a recipient of USAID dollars. Of course she is. The censorship industrial complex, there's a lot for this administration to root out.
Absolutely right. And USAID, to your point, there's the veneer of providing essential aid to people who need it. But that is actually kind of the perfect cover for, not just to your point, the perverse boondoggles and asinine uses of precious taxpayer dollars, but also, and not just the exporting of wokeism or potentially trying to foment color revolutions in line with ruling elites who don't have America's national interest in mind when they're pushing those revolutions, but the censorship industrial complex, no doubt a huge recipient of funds. And perversely, it's sort of twofold. One is it's sort of exporting the censorship controls that are ruling elites imposed on Americans. But also there's a boomerang here, which is that when you have regulatory regimes and structures imposed upon American big tech companies overseas, that can ultimately lead to the purging of Americans' protected speech, because for the big tech platforms to get in line with those regulations, they might have to impose content moderation, quote unquote, standards that lead to Americans' protected speech getting censored. Thankfully now, this administration has vowed to combat that very boomerang, backdoor sort of process, including Mark Zuckerberg, who was a colluder in the censorship regime before. Now he claims he's going to work with the administration to target offensives from abroad against American speech. It's a massive sea change that's occurring, and certainly the freeze of USAID and the restructuring of it has implications for the censorship industrial complex.
Now, part of your investigative piece, you talked to a law professor at Columbia University who's been on the front lines of this battle, Phil Hamburger, New Civil Liberties Alliance, and he said that the action taken by the Trump administration so far doesn't go far enough. What are Trump and company missing?
Yeah, so it's worth noting that the president, as he promised, made a first-day executive order where he did a couple of things. He barred federal officials from engaging in or facilitating the censorship of Americans' protected speech, primarily by social media companies. So that's a remedy for 4+ years, what transpired during the Biden administration and before as well, in the censoring en masse of opposing voices in America and beyond. And it also prevented any resources, federal dollars that is, which is sort of the lifeblood of all of this constellation of NGOs on the outside as well, that basically were involved in doing the outsourced censorship. And then last but not least, the order called for sort of a retroactive investigation into here are all the things that the prior administration did, and potentially this could end up in remedies that include potentially legal consequences and beyond. So that's all very significant. I mean, this is about preventing prospective censorship by government or by proxy, and then also going back to the past acts and figuring out where the illegality might have occurred and helping devise policies to prevent it going forward. So to your point, Philip Hamburger leads the New Civil Liberties Alliance, which represented plaintiffs in Murphy v. Missouri, which is sort of the preeminent case that blew the lid of the size, scope, and nature of the censorship industrial complex and its activities. And he wanted the executive order to go further. What he said to me is that it would have been even more valuable if it had waived qualified immunity for officials throughout the deep state for purposes of free speech violations, meaning that agents who engaged in censorship of our speech during the last administration, you ought to be able to bring lawsuits against them. You ought to be able to pursue them. There is legislation that has been introduced that allows for private causes of action, that is, taking to court federal officials who engage in these kind of behaviors. We'll have to see if it gets through. It looks much more likely at this point. The House seems much more favorable a venue than the Senate historically on these matters. The House last time around passed legislation targeting censorship industrial complex activities. It died, it withered on the vine. In the Senate, we'll see if that changes now, given the Republican majority, but it'll probably be a hard-fought fight, I suspect.
That's Rand Paul's legislation, right?
That's correct. And, unfortunately, from my vantage point, you have establishment senators who are very much sympathetic to the idea of, the government needs to be able to talk to social media companies about taking things down. There's a national security element to it. There's a public health element to it. And this is why there was a fight, by the way, as I'm sure you'll recall and your listeners will recall, over the State Department's Global Engagement Center. Yeah. Well, the Global Engagement Center combats foreign mis, dis, and malinformation. Okay, but it actually was used to target American speech identified as mis, dis, and malinformation. Do you still think that it serves that vital interest, or do there need to be changes? And this is the fight that has to occur, really, to get actual legislative action that codifies what the administration is doing via executive action.
Do you have confidence from what you've heard and seen so far in Marco Rubio making this a priority as well, since the State Department has been the repository of so much of this nefarious, censorious activity?
Which, to your point, is so perverse because the State Department's obviously foreign-facing. So what is it doing getting into the business of Americans' protected speech? That alone is a massive scandal. To your point, the State Department has probably been more overt, upfront, and open in making it a priority to say we are totally out of the business of policing American speech. We're still going to go after the bad guys, foreign adversaries. When they engage in information operations against the American people, we're going to combat them. However, Marco Rubio, in an initial statement about the mission of the State Department under his tenure, identified, a very short statement, but identifies censorship, spends a whole paragraph of only a few paragraphs basically saying we're out of the censorship business. This is totally perverse. It's against our values and principles. So I do suspect that the State Department is going to move heaven and earth to get out of this business. And ultimately, to dismantle and destroy the censorship industrial complex, it's going to require all of these agencies to be out of the business. And maybe more importantly, as per that executive order, no more federal funding of NGOs or academic programs at schools, because there are tons of academic programs in this space at leading institutions. When you starve them of those federal funds, it makes it very hard for this structure to persist. So the foundations of the censorship industrial complex have been shaken. We'll see if it topples.
Before we let you go, I just wanted to ask you about Trump's cabinet picks. It looks like there's some hope for Tulsi Gabbard with Susan Collins going to vote yes to get it out of committee. But what do you see for RFK Jr.?
Yeah, I mean, I think, first of all, with Tulsi Gabbard, it seems like Todd Young is the hang-up at this point. And he had a conversation with Elon Musk, it appears, over the weekend, and seemed to reassure Elon Musk. This is a huge test, obviously, of Tom Cotton's leadership on the Intel Committee, because I'm pretty confident that should she get to the floor, should she pass out of the Intel Committee, which is only a 9-8 Republican majority, that she will ultimately be confirmed. And I think there's a massive pressure campaign right now on Bill Cassidy in particular in Louisiana to get on board the ship with RFK Jr. So you have to wait and see at this point. I will say in both of these instances, these are people who have been targeted by weaponized government. These are people who are critics, on the one hand, of sort of the big pharma public health agency collusion, and then on the other side, the weaponization of the deep state against dissenters. Who better than the critics of these agencies to be the ones to come into those agencies and in an oversight fashion and in implementing and executing policy, actually correct for the excesses, for the corruption, for the targeting of wrong thinkers. That's one of the remarkable things about this administration, is that in many places you have people who are the very critics of the institutions being brought in to clean them up. And that should hopefully redound to the benefit of the American people. Same, obviously, with Kash Patel and others as well.
Jay Bhattacharya at NIH, the same thing. Yeah, no, it's great.
Targeted in Missouri v. Biden, by the way, one of the plaintiffs in the case.
Right. No, it's as we've said often on this show, who is more motivated than the hunted to become the hunters? Ben Weingarten, editor-at-large for RealClearInvestigations.com. Check out his most excellent report on the censorship industrial complex, keeping us updated. He's also a senior contributor to The Federalist, Federalist.com. His Substack, Weingarten.substack.com. Ben, thank you as always.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Fellas, Dan Proft here. Let's talk about getting back to your best. If you lack energy, muscle mass, feel moody, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be the answer, but guys aren't all the same, so don't settle for a standard dosage TRT program. I learned about the personalized treatment at Low T Center and the results you can expect with customized TRT. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 referral credit when you refer a new patient. So go to lowtcenter.com and book an appointment. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
In the beginning, God created. Now it's your turn. You're a creator, inspired to design and craft incredible works of art and innovation. But nothing halts inspiration faster than not having the materials you need to bring your vision to life. K&S Precision Metals understands the power of creation. So they provide the materials to help you make your masterpiece. From brass, aluminum, copper, and stainless steel tubing to wire, rod, sheets, and foil, their vast selection of pure, high-quality metals is designed to meet your needs from start to finish. No lead, no fillers. Just materials you can trust to elevate your project. Whether you're a professional or hobbyist, their products are trusted by the medical and movie industries and creators like you, providing high-quality metals to a world of endless possibilities. K&S Precision Metals has been family-owned and operated in Chicago for 78 years. Most orders ship within a day, so you can get back to creating faster. Order directly at ksmetals.com. That's ksmetals.com. Our materials, your creations.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
My debt problem started probably about 2016. I needed my life to change financially. I called Trinity, and I ended up joining based on high credit card bills and high interest rate. And my counselor at Trinity has been great, and Trinity has been helping me to get on the right path of paying off these credit card bills, bringing down the interest rate. They have consolidated my bills into one low monthly payment. And now I am finally getting out of credit card debt. So I just want to say thank you, Trinity, for showing me a better and greater path.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Sharon, and soon I will be debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, do you know almost tens of thousands of CPS students stayed home yesterday for the Day Without Immigrants? And I know a teacher in the suburbs who their school had close to 200 absent students yesterday.
Yeah, well, they can afford a day because a full, 10% of them are proficient in reading and math. So, it's going gangbusters in CPS.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:38, one of the leading authorities on energy policy in the world, Mark Mills, National Center for Energy Analytics, joins us. 8:38.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
It is 8:32, 24 degrees and sunshine. 6 were injured in a shooting and an attack at a checkpoint in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. Early this morning, Israeli soldiers were critically hurt. Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu are set to meet for talks in Washington today. El Salvador says it will house violent U.S. criminals and take deportees of any nationality. Secretary of State Marco Rubio brokering the deal.
He has offered to house in his jails dangerous American criminals.
The Senate confirming fossil fuel executive Chris Wright to serve as Energy Secretary, a key post promoting President Donald Trump's efforts to achieve energy dominance in the global market. More rain is headed to California. Powerful storms along the West Coast could bring flooding, mudslides, and heavy snow to parts of Northern California this week. The Trump administration opening new investigations into allegations of anti-Semitism at 5 U.S. major universities, including Northwestern University. Chicago's police superintendent addressing questions about a deadly police shooting over the weekend on the West Side. CPD's Larry Snelling says it's always unfortunate when there's a loss of life, but certain actions are necessary to protect the lives of the innocent.
It's always unfortunate when there's a loss of life in these situations. We try to handle these situations as delicately as we possibly can. However, sometimes actions are absolutely necessary to protect the lives of the innocent.
We'll be watching today as jury deliberations resume in Michael Madigan's landmark corruption trial, along with co-defendant Michael McLean. Controversy swirling in Dalton during a meeting last night held without embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard. It was announced about 100 village employees have been without life insurance since last summer because premiums had not been paid.
I have been a resident of Dalton for 40 years. I have never seen such deplorable actions in our community.
It was the last village board meeting before the village primary later this month. Chicago sports. Bulls stumble into a contest with Miami at the UC tonight. College hoops, Notre Dame and Florida State tonight in the Big Ten, Northwestern and USC. Also tonight in the A-10, Loyola and St. Bonaventure. The news, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Use that coupon code Chicago to save 35% as a preferred customer. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This Valentine's Day, you can say, I love you to that special someone.
Just one kiss from your sweet lips will tell.
In the form of $2,000 if you win our Cash for Couples contest.
I love you so much.
Enter today at 560theanswer.com/love. That's 560theanswer.com/love.
If you have high blood pressure, you have the #1 risk factor for mortality.
Don't be a walking time bomb. Make this change and watch your blood pressure drop.
Order 120 Life today.
Yes, 120 Life is an amazing blend of superfruit juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure.
It's been endorsed by thousands of health professionals and doesn't have the side effects of medication.
It's up to you to control your blood pressure, not Big Pharma.
Seriously, 120 Life could be the natural game changer in your life. Try it yourself risk-free with a 2-week trial pack. You've got nothing to lose but your high blood pressure.
Go to 120life.com and use promo code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
120 Life is so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied.
Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. From pomegranates to cranberries, it's the delicious way to lower your blood pressure. It really works.
Go to 120life.com now. Use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
My name is Dr. Joe Mealy. I've been a dentist for 56 years, and I'm a certified nutritional consultant. I started taking Balance of Nature 15 years ago. I think most people think when they eat fruits and vegetables, this is their idea of fruits and vegetables. I had an apple today. I had a pear today. I had a banana. That's their fruits and vegetables. They don't understand that each one of those fruits and vegetables has different nutrients than the others. Balance of Nature has made a significant difference in my life, in my wife's life. I feel we're on this earth to help each other. And if other people can benefit from my experience, I think that would be one of the best ways I could justify still being here at 81.
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping as a new preferred customer by using discount code Chicago.
I'm excited about it. You know, these cutting edge things that are new in medicine now, I'm all in on it. I'm all in on QC Kinetics. It works.
Henry Hinton decided to check out QC Kinetics regenerative treatments for his aching knees after seeing a close friend have amazing results without going under the knife.
I have a friend that started this, which is one of the reasons that I decided to do it. He could not play golf anymore, and he went to QC Kinetics and started having the treatments, and he's back golfing like 3 days a week. He couldn't play at all.
QC Kinetics gets you back to doing what you love, using your own natural biologics to help heal and restore damaged joints. Long-term relief that puts a guy back on the golf course.
You know, I've had one treatment so far, and I can already tell a difference. QC Kinetics works. I'm excited about it.
You're next. Start with a call to QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
8:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and this update is a service of Discover, accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. Maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past. It's all based on a February 2024 Nielsen report, discover.com/credit card. The Kennedy at right now, an hour and 15, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Outbounders 45 to O'Hare. Ike, right now, an hour 16 from 390 into the old post office. 1 solid hour on the Stevenson end, 355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. A full half hour in from 95th on the Dan Ryan to the Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Increasing clouds, colder, and a high near 27 today. Low clouds and 24 overnight. An icy mess tomorrow. High 34. It's 24 right now. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
All right, believe it or not, we are almost at our goal for our Food for the Poor campaign. We need just 1 to 2 more business benefactors to cross that finish line. We're asking a one-time donation of $2,500. With that, the money will go to Food for the Poor. You'll feed 50 kids for a whole entire year. Plus, it's a great tax write-off. Plus, we'll give you 41-minute commercials that will air right here. We want to thank We the People of McHenry County, Vitality Dialysis, Tinley Park Convention Center, Mars Medical Equipment. The list goes on and on. We have 2 spots left. So be one of the cool kids. If you advertise, if you thought about advertising ever, this is the best deal in Chicagoland radio. The number to call, Anjanette, 847-472-8951, 847-472-8951. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
I want to go back to this moment between Scott Bessent, the now confirmed Treasury Secretary, and the hapless senator from Oregon, Ron Wyden. The question of energy and the left's obsession with green energy, you know, like the backdoor Green New Deal that was passed during the Biden administration. And the formulation that Scott Bessent provided to Ron Wyden and those senators in attendance, as well as the nation, the framing here.
Now there is a big effort in the Trump administration to reverse it. I think that's going to be bad for the economy, but it is going to be damn good for China because we are in an arms race on clean energy with them. Are you going to be on the side of people who want to unravel this?
Senator Wyden, just so we can frame this for everyone in the room, China will build 100 new coal plants this year. There is not a clean energy race. There is an energy race. China will build 10 nuclear plants this year. That is not solar. I am in favor of more nuclear plants. And I would note that the IRA, as scored by the CBO, is wildly out of control in terms of spending on the upside.
Indeed. And the perverse incentives it presents as well. We're in a energy race, not a clean energy race. And let me give you an example of the perverse incentives. Let's go back to Phil Murphy's New Jersey. Maybe not for long if Tom Homan gets his hands on Murphy since he's harboring illegals, so he says. But anyway,
the garage.
I digress. Shell has effectively withdrawn from New Jersey's first offshore wind farm, Atlantic Shores. Shell, oil company involved in building windmills off the shores of New Jersey, is going to write off $1 billion investment to walk away from this. As James Freeman over at the Wall Street Journal notes, the enthusiasm for windy boondoggles that animates Governor Phil Murphy somehow keeps getting sliced by the whooshing blade of financial reality. And, of course, there's the political reality, too, which is not only Trump calling the Atlantic Shores wind proposal dead and gone, but looking to try to claw back the hundreds of billions of dollars in spend to advance the perverse incentives like this one that I mentioned. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Mark Mills. Mark Mills is the founder and executive director of the National Center for Energy Analytics. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Mark, are you there?
Do we have Mark Mills?
I'm right here.
Oh, hello.
Oh, there we go.
Good morning.
There you are. Before we begin, I got to say I attended a talk that was given by Joel Ross, he of the Ross Rant for people who are subscribers. And he was effusive in singing your praises as sort of the leading authority on energy policy in the world. So you'll be happy to hear that, I'm sure.
Well, that's wonderful. I obviously paid Joel enough to be.
Well, you know,
oh, the truth comes out.
We didn't get into that, you know. So anyway, what about Scott Bessent's formulation there to frame the discussion about sensible energy policy? We're in a energy race, not a clean energy race.
Well, he uses the right language, and it's been an energy race for all of human history. Let's be clear about how long the race has been on. But we need energy. It's self-evident, and for everything, there's no product, no service, nothing that doesn't use energy. Of course, the universe exists because of energy. So it's a weird domain. But obviously, this debate is about the idea of transitioning away from hydrocarbons, oil, gas, and coal, to something else, mainly windmills and solar panels and batteries for cars and grids. And of course, he framed it exactly correctly. It's a race for, to use the now pilloried phrase, it's a race for energy dominance. And of course, the Saudis and the OPEC have figured out something that is still true. Oil is the single largest source of global energy. It still is, has been for a long time, by a huge factor. In fact, oil alone supplies 10 times more energy to the world than all of the planet's windmills and solar panels combined. And we've spent trillions, I don't mean billions, but Europe and the United States for the last 20 years have spent trillions of dollars to avoid using oil, gas, and coal. The net effect of that has been an increased use of wind and solar and lots more EVs, no question, a lot more than there ever were, and the use of oil, gas, and coal have all risen, not declined. They've all risen dramatically. In fact, the total increase in use of fossil fuels, if it were just oil, is equal to 6 Saudi Arabia's worth of energy production over the last 20 years, new production. So the race is on the fuel economies inexpensively and reliably. And, China's the biggest oil importer now. They're a massive importer of natural gas. What they are not an importer of are the critical minerals and metals needed to make windmills and solar panels and batteries that we subsidize and buy Chinese materials and products to build them and assemble them here. It's not a great trade geopolitically or economically.
And something that, going back to Joe Ross's talk, which I assume he got from you, just to provide some perspective on this energy discussion, and those who are, like California, trying to ban the combustion engine and so forth, all EVs, the EV mandates, which I know has now been rescinded, but the debate rages on. Ross said that if you eliminated half the cars on the planet, it would only reduce fossil fuel consumption by 10%.
Wow. Yeah, he's specifically talking about oil use, but that's
right. Oil use,
right. If we go from the sort of about 15 million EVs in the world, out of a total vehicle stock on the planet of 1.5 billion, so 1,500 million cars in the world today, there'll be 2,000 million cars in the world in 20 years. If half of those end up being electric, which is not conceivable because there's enough copper in the world right now. But even if that were to happen, it would reduce global oil use by less than 10%. Global oil use. So that's a lot, by the way, in oil markets. If you swing demand by 10%, big shifts in price. But it's not the end of oil. That's the point. There are going to be lots more EVs. And with a little luck, we won't be subsidizing them with taxpayers' money anymore. As you know, and it's been widely written and researched, even from analysis from UC Berkeley, the vast majority of subsidies are a transfer of wealth from the middle class to the rich. The rich buy EVs, and the middle class pay most taxes.
I wanted to get your reaction to this op-ed in the Wall Street Journal by the CEO of TC Energy, a company that, according to him, moves roughly 30% of the natural gas consumed in North America. And he talks about the opportunity that's present right now with Canada getting into the LNG market, the opportunity for sort of a unified collaboration in North America between Mexico, the United States, and Canada when it comes to LNG, and as consistent with sort of Trump's policy of not enriching our enemies by buying oil from Venezuela or Russia or Europe buying natural gas from Russia. This is an opportunity to advance our collective economy in North America while defenestrating enemies of a free people.
It's financially defenestrating, of course, because the economies that sell oil and gas to the world that are not our friends make a lot of money, and they use that money to buy weapons that hurt us and our friends. But I have been an advocate of a no borders free trade energy agreement between Canada and the United States and Mexico for a long time, from well over 15 years. I published a study 15 years ago titled The North American Energy Colossus, presenting the idea that we could have tariffs of manufactured products of all kinds of, you could imagine that, for all kinds of reasons. But when it comes to energy, it's so important that it would be, and I may be a tad idealistic here. I am a realist, but this may sound a tad idealistic. Because borders are artificial by definition when it comes to resources. We own them and they own them. But the infrastructures, pipelines and transmission lines, highways and things, ways we can move goods and materials for energy around. Ideally, we would just do it in the optimum way, the economically optimum way. If we did that, the North American continent would become the utterly overwhelming primary supplier to the world for the energy it's going to need to grow and drag people out of poverty. You know this data. I'm sure all your listeners know. The billion people in Europe and the United States live luxurious lives compared to the 6.5 billion people everywhere else. They would like to live something closer to our lives, taking vacations, having cars, air conditioning, normal cooking and heating. They'll take astonishing quantities of energy, inexpensively produced, There is. It is not an exaggeration to say that there is no better domain in terms of resources and technology capability to do that than North America. The United States is the biggest player in that, but it's good to have allies, and I remain stubbornly optimistic that we'll get to something like that in this next iteration as we renormalize away from this. We'll call it a dream. It's really it's a form of mythology to think that we can replace fossil fuels with wind, solar, and batteries. It's not happening. Wow. It can't happen given the physics and economics of energy systems. And the sooner we stop pretending there's going to be a transition, but rather there'll be additions to energy sources, the sooner we'll get back to a normal behavior that will be economically, geopolitically beneficial. But yeah, it'd be great to, Canada's, it's my homeland. I'm both flavors now, Canadian and American. Vast resources and a tenth the number of people. And is already a major exporter. It could expand.
Well, let's talk about that alternative energy of windmills. I mean, they are popping up everywhere around this country, around the world. Do they generate any power? Is there any saving grace to these things?
Well, sure. It's like every technology or resource in particular. It depends where you are. To be simplistic, there's no value to really planting wheat in the Sahara Desert. I mean, you can if you irrigate it a lot and spend a lot of money, but it produces very expensive wheat. Wheat grows well in the Great Plains of America and Canada because of geography and the nature of where it is on the planet. So that's a long way of saying there are places where a very significant penetration of wind makes sense, and there are many places where a significant penetration doesn't make sense. The most important point is not whether they can produce useful and inexpensive electricity. It's what share of a grid, how much of the share of electricity can wind realistically and economically produce. And that varies, again, geographically. It can be as much as 20 or 30%. Some places it could be only 10% in others. The problem is obvious, right? When the wind's blowing, the wind produced electricity is very cheap. When the wind's not blowing, of course, it's essentially infinitely priced because there's none, which is bad. And how you back that up is where the real rubber meets the road, where the economics make wind become extremely difficult to supply reliable electricity as a primary source of electricity. So I think what's happened is that people have become over-enthusiastic, the wind advocates, in thinking it's going to be easy to make wind the primary source of electricity, whereas the people who dislike windmills, and many dislike them for aesthetic reasons, which I am sympathetic to, filling the entire horizon with Washington Monument-sized machines is not, for a lot of people, very pretty. And so there are aesthetics considerations as well as just economics. Bottom line is they produce electricity. If you ask the question this way, would you want a car, would you pay for a car that was very cheap when it was running, but you didn't know when it would start? You have to buy a second car to be always available, but it's a car you don't really like, and it uses a fuel you don't really like, but you have to have two cars now. I mean, that's the essence of wind.
Well, that's about the best metaphor for wind power I've heard. Mark Mills is the founder and executive director of the National Center for Energy Analytics. Mark, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Well, it was during a 10, 12-inch snowstorm, and we probably shouldn't have been delivering, but we were delivering.
Ben and Arvid Huth, brothers and owners of Penny Mustard Furnishings.
And they get to the end of the driveway, and it's a long driveway, like a quarter mile long, and it has been plowed. And the UPS guy was stuck halfway between them and the house. You can't see the house from the road. They can't pass this UPS guy with their truck. They're going to get stuck. So, and what would have 99 out of 100 people done? And skip that delivery and call a customer and say, I can't deliver. Yeah. Not these guys. Yeah. So what they did was they carried that table a quarter mile to the house, delivered it through 10 inches of snow, and then carried the old table, customer's old table, a quarter mile back to the truck. That is just doing whatever it takes to get it done. Yep. As much as that's customer service, because the customer was happy that we got done, that's just service to us. That's service to all the other employees that we just got the extra work done. Yep.
See more at pennymustard.com.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, Does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and healthcare, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move. We just listed our house on the market. Just make sure you have the right attorney. Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that? They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, boss, how's your cigar?
It's good. You want to hear about the hole-in-one that wasn't a hole-in-one?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yes, do tell.
So I was practicing yesterday, and I went out just to mess around and play 9. Yeah. So I'm by myself. Oh. So I ace 17 at Old Florida.
Oh, what?
But it doesn't count.
What? Oh,
because I'm by myself. So you have to. I mean, you can't. You have to have a witness to be a legit hole-in-one. So now I've got an asterisk. So I got my second hole-in-one, but it's asterisk because you have to rely on my character, and of course, most people won't do that.
Well, how many yards? And what club did you use?
I was playing about 148 yards, and I hit a 9, one bounce, and a little roll, and it dropped.
Congratulations! That's a huge
No,
accomplishment.
it's nothing. It's nothing. It's not a hole-in-one.
You could have your imaginary children there. They saw it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just more frustration with the game of golf for me. Even when I'm good, I'm bad.
All right, thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Maybe a drone picked it up or something.
Yeah,
Look
right.
for
I
surveillance
hope so.
footage from nearby
footage.
houses.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, today it's going to be clear right now, but colder, a high of 27 degrees. It's now 9 a.m., WIND, Chicago.
2 controversial Trump nominees under scrutiny again. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. 2 Senate committees